Board of Education meeting to order. If everybody could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then if you could please stay standing for a moment of silence. Mr. Bronson, would you please lead us back there? Would you please lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Oops, I'm upside down. Again, I'd like to welcome everyone that's with us this evening, and if we could have roll call, please.
Norm Berger,
Here.
Robert Clark,
Here.
Michael Gallo,
Here.
John Krasinski,
Here.
Sue Cransky,
Present.
Ryan Key,
Present.
Diane Surface,
Present.
Matthew Walters,
Here.
Melanie Zip.
Here. Thank you. I'd like to let everyone know that we did have an executive session. It was held today, August the 14th of 2025, immediately prior to this regularly scheduled meeting for purposes of personnel matters, including but not limited to performance and/or discipline, negotiations, and legal issues. Dr. Conrad, did we have any community questions this evening?
Yes, good evening, everyone. There were 3 community questions submitted for this evening. Don Dioswiak from Chestnut Hill Township submitted 2 questions. The first question was regarding the video recordings of the meetings. The last 2 meetings were not recorded at the time of the meeting, and there were no connection once the meeting had begun, even though prior to testing showed that we did actually have connectivity. I've confirmed that you had received an email from Mr. Van Voorhis on July 30th, where Mr. Van Voorhis actually explained in an email to you that this had occurred. He explained in the email that we were upgrading the system and that this was to be completed sometime in mid-September, pending all the delivery days. I know that we'll address that a little bit this evening during the working session, but as it stands now, we are still on track, and obviously we apologize for any inconvenience. The second question was regarding grievances. So when grievances are filed, we work with our unions and we work through the issues, and we have some discussions before they obviously lead to further escalated issues, and we really do try to come through with resolutions. In many cases, we've actually worked through the challenges. There are a small number of issues that we're still working through, and I hope that we continue to have discussion and dialogue about those. And then Solicitor Mark Fitzgerald will answer the third question from Denise Hopley from Chestnut Hill Township regarding the administrator's contracts.
Thank you, Dr. Conrad. My understanding of the question was that your contract or increase is on for approval, but that of Dr. Raylan Howard's is not. Why is that the case? And it is due to the fact that the contracts are different. Dr. Howard has within her contract that was approved by the board back in 2021 that to the extent she meets certain performance standards, her increase is guaranteed within the contract. Therefore, the board does not need to take any further action on it. It has already been approved effectively through that contract that was approved in September of 2021.
Thank you. I'd also like to make a comment concerning our contracts and our collective bargaining agreements. Everything is on our website under the Human Resource tab. All our collective bargaining agreements and all of the contracts that we have with individuals, our superintendent, our assistant superintendent, our business manager, our director of HR, they are all there for the public to review. We're not hiding anything. So there's true transparency. And I just want to say that we are the only school district in Monroe County that does that. I looked at all of the other 3 websites and none of them have any contracts on. So we are fully transparent in that respect. So thank you. Secretary's report, Mrs. Smale.
Good evening. Tonight I'm requesting approval of the minutes of the meeting held on July 24th, 2025, and approval of the August 14th, 2025 board meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Walters, seconded by Mrs. Zip. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries. Treasurer's report. Oh, sorry, I missed you guys. Sorry. Pleasant Valley citizens. Oh, boy. Again, agenda items only. Please, it's agenda items only. Please come to the podium, state your name, township you reside in, and of course, there's a 3-minute limit.
Denise Oakley, Chestnut Hill Township. I just have a couple questions with the payment amount. I'm sorry, 15A.
Okay. 13?
13A.
13A, okay.
The number of KSBA Architects, they have a payment amount listed at $142,928.02. I don't know what the services are for, materials, and what does the payment cover? And are there additional payments anticipated for this project? And then is this added to the total cost of, I don't know what it's for, so I can't even say it's added to renovation, so I don't know. And then 8B, I'm not exactly sure what act that goes under, because I tried looking it all up under 8B for Dr. Conrad's salary increase. Is why Dr. Howard's percentage raise wasn't there, and I don't know the act that they're following, because I thought they were together. And it's Dr. Howard's evaluation, if it's completed, are they going to post it? And then the approval, I don't know when that'll be. And I thought it was under a statute to report. 4C, Conrad Weiser Area School District. I don't know if what this invoice is, could be, I don't know. It's a BPLEA, and I don't know if it's for special services. It's for $35,058.60. I don't know what it's related to, and it appears to be specialized service. When I looked at, tried to look things up, and the nature of the service, if that could just be explained. And then Create a Stitch, the amount of $4,549.50. What shirts were purchased, who are the recipients, and is it related to staff, students, or program? I don't have one for this one, I'll have to ask it at the end. I don't have a specific one for that, it's a statute question. Does that fall at the end? Statute,
I would say
or say do it now or later?
later.
Okay, technology is explained, so it's not recording tonight, correct?
No, we're recording. It's working.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood in here correctly. Okay, it's working. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on in the agenda, treasurer's report, please, Mrs. Surface.
Yes, good evening. Tonight I'm seeking approval for items 4B and 4C. A is informational only.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Berger and seconded by Mr. Walters. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, like obtaining the cyber schools, is that from previous years? There's like a number of bills are for cyber and charter schools.
Cyber charter schools are paid over 12 months, even though the kids go 10 months out of the year, they're paid over a 12-month period. That's why you see payments in July and August.
And that's our choice?
No, that's charter school rule.
Okay. The Kensal Airways, 950.
That was to clean the kitchen exhaust system and filters at PVE and PVI.
Oh, good. And I saw a couple like Maple Newton School District is.
They're for, they're LEA, local education agencies for there's students that live in our district and
They
they
go
attend a
someplace
different
else.
district, they attend somewhere else, so they send us a bill at the end of the year. And vice versa, if we have students here that belong to another district, we bill them at the end of the school year.
And then the Kim Watts, the Title I consultant for 5,000. Is that, she's getting ready to start consulting us, or she already
No,
started?
she's already been here. She was here for 3 hours, held a very informative training session for 3 hours for the upcoming monitoring. And I was part of that, and I know she's been consulting with our curriculum department outside of that.
So she's working with our admin, is what she's
Correct.
doing. And I also had the Creative Stitch online. Is that-
They're the T-shirts for the custodial and maintenance staff that were required to purchase for them based from the
Right.
CBA.
Annual base, yeah. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries. On to unfinished business, Mr. Fitzgerald.
There is no unfinished business this evening.
Does anyone have any other unfinished? Okay, we'll move on to new business. Monroe Career and Technical Institute, Mrs. Surface.
No report this time, evening.
Hopefully, I know you weren't at the JOC meeting, but hopefully we did tour the new addition. It's just a few things left to go. Hopefully, we will obtain the temporary occupancy permit and we'll be good to go. So it looks beautiful. Colonial IU, Mr. Galler?
It's actually me, Mr. Clark.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So,
We need to change
I
that.
have not had my first meeting yet. I'll have my meeting, I think, in 2 weeks.
Okay, all right.
I should have some type of report after that.
All right, sorry about that.
No problem.
PSBA liaison, Mrs. Zip.
Nothing new at this time.
Okay, under education, I have nothing new, but I know we have some things under the working session we're going to discuss. Finance report, Mrs. Surface.
Yes, we'll be discussing that in items 12 and 13 later in the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Mr. O'Keefe, athletics.
Yes, good evening. Welcome back, PV athletes. We're excited for another outstanding athletic season in 2025-26 school year. Fall sports practices are in full swing, and scrimmages and season openers are just around the corner. Make sure to come out and show your support for our student athletes whenever you can. Little public announcement here for promoting ourselves. We're involved in this 5-night 5G lights. We also did it last year. What we're trying to do is get our name out there whenever we have the possibility, and what we can do is to help get a multi-million-dollar contract to upgrade our facilities. Again, it is for sports, but everybody uses our fields and stadiums, so it's going to be contributing to everybody as well as the community. Again, as I'll reiterate, Pleasant Valley has once again entered the T-Mobile Friday Night Lights 5G lights for the chance to win a multi-million-dollar football field upgrade via T-Mobile. So to help win, you can help share and like this post and spread the word. Create PV Spirit Instagram posts and any sporting events. Include hashtag FN5GL and hashtag sweepstakes. Make sure to tag at T-Mobile and at PV Bears Athletics. Post early, post often. It increases our chances of winning, and 2 schools locally, I do believe, won last week. So it's weekly drawings that we're doing to give incentives to our community. So if everybody can, I know it's hard to tell, but you'll be seeing these around the community. I think we acquired probably 100 or so. So they'll be at stadiums, they'll be at schools, maybe hang on the Bears' neck somewhere, just to get creative, to get everybody involved, to promote what we're doing. So I will leave this down here. For anybody who wants to jump up, take a picture, snag. You can even do the board meeting if you want to get really crazy. So last but not least, Booster Club support. Why should boosters get involved? Why should parents get involved in a Booster Club? Being part of a Booster Club is one of the most impactful ways parents can support their children's school experience, both on and off the field. Booster Clubs help provide resources, equipment, team meals, scholarships, and so much more that often go beyond what the school budget can afford. Your involvement, whether it's helping plan events, fundraising, or even just lending a hand when needed, directly benefits the student athletes and enhances the spirit and pride of our school community. It's also a great way to connect with other families, stay informed, and be an active participant in your child's journey. No matter your schedule or your skill set, there's a place for you in the Booster Club. Every bit helps, and together we can make a big difference. So that's my public announcement for the Booster Clubs, because I know a lot of them are struggling. So if our parents can help out, I know it's difficult. It's time consuming, but it's our children. I'm on 2 of them, so it's very challenging. But you got to find the time. You got to do it because it's for them. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Policy report, Mrs. Zip.
There's one policy on later in the agenda for first reading.
Okay, thank you. Capital Improvement Plan, Mr. Berger.
The capital improvements plan, the team met yesterday to discuss priorities for our 5 and 10-year facilities improvement maintenance plan. Updates to the plan will be discussed at the board's September working session. Today, as was previously mentioned, we did a walkthrough to the high school on many of the areas that are being renovated. They're busily working to get everything ready for the opening day of school and getting the teachers in and getting the room set up. At today's working session, CHA is going to provide an update briefing on the high school renovation. We will also be discussing PVI and PVM chiller issues and looking and working on the path forward. Our next high school renovation meeting is scheduled for August 28th. Thank you.
Thank you. Technology, Mr. Clark.
I have nothing at this time, but hopefully next time I'll have something.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Walters, Security.
Just that it's good to see Chief Bronson hit the ground running, and we look forward to a very successful school year.
Okay, thank you. Citizens Advisory Committee, Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes, thank you. Last night we had our meeting. It was on safety and discipline. And I thank Mrs. Craigsley and Mrs. Surface for filling in for our board. We had Dr. Conrad, Chief Bronson, and our assistant principal, Mrs. Adams, and Paul Brett, Mr. Holbright was there, and Mr. Boylan, and Mr. Rodriguez. And they did a wonderful job, all of them. There was a lot of good questions that were asked about the safety. I guess one of the disappointing things about last night was that I expected maybe more of the community should have been there to hear about the safety that we're doing, that the board has passed, and what Dr. Cameron, our security team, has been putting together to keep our kids safe. And it probably would alleviate a lot of questions as the school year would go on. It's like, why is my kid this, or why is my kid that, or why is this happening? Because a lot of that stuff is answered there. We will continue again with safety again on September 10th. So please put that, I know it's gonna be tough one, because I think that's an open house night, if someone correct me, I think. Yeah. Yeah, that could be a tough one.
Yeah, maybe you want to just on it a week? I don't know.
We'll talk about that afterwards. But
Didn't
Dr.
think of that.
Conrad and Chief Bronson would be there to continue to answer questions. I know I had some people ask questions about construction, security, stuff like that. Come out and hear what they have to say. So, thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent's reports.
Yes, so tonight I'm seeking approval for item 7A. I also want to thank our PVE teachers, Joan Bombalski and also Ann Gordon, who secured the donation of 3 bears for our building from the Carbon Environmental Education Center in Jim Thorpe. Item 7B is informational.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Walters, seconded by Mr. Galler. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries.
Okay, moving on to human resources, Mrs. Fulmer.
Yes, good evening. Tonight I'm seeking approval of items 8B through 8H, items 8I through 8J, are information.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Berger, seconded by Mr. Clark. Is there any discussion? Hearing of, no, I didn't hear any, so do you have something?
I just want to read this. I have a different way of looking at evaluations, and I don't want to look at this personal as Dr. Conrad. I look at this as the district as a whole. And there's a couple of, I put these improvements, and I want to just discuss that. It says improve student performance and achievement. I said this objective standard aims to demonstrate students' improvement. Unfortunately, our current data indicates significant challenges. Review of the Great PA school data shows that only 2 out of 17 academic areas for our students reach proficient level or above. Furthermore, approximately 93% of our goals in our comprehensive plan were not met. Prioritizing time on task for instruction is crucial for our educational institutions. We sent a number of times, we had settled grievances by not bringing our students in to settle grievances with our professional staff, which falls on both ends. And while evidence for improvement may exist somewhere, I say currently our data I indicate is not materialized readings. I think we need an improvement as an overall. Like I said, I'm not directing this at anyone in particular. Number 2 talks about providing a safe and positive school environment for all students and personnel. I agree that we provide evidence suggests efforts to foster a safe and positive school environment. Chief Miller did a great job of bringing in grants and stuff like that that helped. However, crucial terms, the objective is all. It's clear that several issues, including numerous comp ed suits, continuous grievances, ULPs, staff cases progressing to arbitration, involuntary non-hiring of staff for supplementary contracts, unprofessional handling of staff disagreements is negatively affecting our school environment. Numerous times when asked about money spent on hall pass technology, which is a big thing we push for safety, we were told they were being used, but yet we were found out in the end that they were not put into progress. So again, I believe this is another area that still needs improvement. And the third area said expand methods of effective and open communication with our stakeholders. While communications are expanding in some areas, I'm concerned we're losing ground in others. Our website isn't consistently updated, which hinders effective communication, and this is in the past. Constant shift to not include the tax-paying community in district-wide events, like Night of Unity still hasn't been fostered, which we had culture sharing and community bonding, still hasn't been reinstated. Similar to AAA awards have cut. I understand what we're trying to do with time and stuff like that, but it's cut to just our seniors, which I think there's a negative impact, community engagement from our underclassmen as well as their parents. This year, teachers and coaches were also engaged, or less engaged because they weren't even speaking on behalf of the awards or their teams. All to save times, and again, whose time are we trying to save? The community or administration or professional staff? Committee questions are not always answered with clarity or complete accuracy. A formal procedure for evaluating the superintendent, I feel, is needed. Again, the superintendent in our district, involving confidential surveys from a diverse range of all our stakeholders, our staff, our other administrators, our students, our parents, community members, to provide a comprehensive and accurate assessment of the performance that's happening in our district. It's due to these three that I will be voting no to a 3.5 raise. The contract says from 2% to 3.5. In my eyes, if you're trying 2%, that's low. 3.5 would be distinguished, so I will not be voting for that. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I'm also opposing 8B.
John?
Yes.
I guess, but, okay,
Yes.
all right,
I vote yes.
okay. All right, and that motion carries.
Okay, tonight I'm seeking approval of items 9B through 9I. Items 9J through 9L are informational.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Keefe and seconded by Mr. Walters. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item 10, Mrs. Fulmer, if you can continue. Thanks.
Tonight I'm seeking approval of items 10A and 10B.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Walters, seconded by Mr. O'Keefe. Is there any discussion?
I just want quickly, I know this was probably covered once before, but when we get down into the 300s, like 305, 308, they mention crime codes. And yet it still says an administrative discretion, 1 to 10 days of OSS, possible school police or state involvement, possible exposure. I mean, I just wonder, Mr. Fitzgerald, if we actually know the crime codes, shouldn't that be turned right over to police? I mean, why are we saying that's a choice of our administration?
No, I think that's not what that it's, and I haven't looked at it, but I've seen similar language. Presumably, when there's criminal implications that result in the arrest of a student or the conviction of a student, that could trigger then automatic expulsion. It's not that they wouldn't turn it over.
I was just,
yeah.
I mean, it's just the
Yeah.
wording got thrown me off because like how, I don't want to get into the rape one there especially, but, like, if somebody even says that should be.
No, that's not, that would automatically be
So
shared
this
out.
wording is just.
The wording is a
generalized.
scenario in which hypothetically a student is potentially charged with something criminally, but then maybe the charges are dropped.
But we'd have
but-
to turn it
but-
over.
But it would be, we still have the discretion to institute the level of discipline we want to, which could be suspension, could be expulsion. So I see that in a lot of those provisions.
I understand, I just.
But it would not,
Possibly involve that.
would not mean they wouldn't be sharing it out. And with our own police department.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries.
Moving on to operations, Mr. Smith.
Good evening. So I'm seeking approval of item 11A.
So moved.
It's
It's
another,
information.
it's other, there's no facility
Yeah,
on there.
there's
Do you have
nothing
anything
there.
else to say? It's not a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
So you have no,
Very
you have no report.
All right.
Information.
Moving on.
All right.
All right, information. Item 12, that would be business management. Mrs. Mill.
Tonight I'm requesting approval of items 12B and 12E.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry. Motion by Mr. Kaczynski and seconded by Mrs. Surface. Is there any discussion?
Yes. I think Tammy, the one, number 2 there, it says cross-country signing service for a meet on 9/9 is gonna be $3,500. I think I read the contract, that $3,500 is for both our cross-country season and our track season. Is that correct?
It's for 4 track meets and then 700 for the cross.
Just in case people didn't open that up and they're thinking, wow, what's that? That was brought there. My other one was, Lexington Time, I'm sorry, number 2, that's 13, my bad, 13.
Nothing else?
No,
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries.
I'm also requesting approval of items 13B and 13E.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Kaczynski, seconded by Mrs. Zip. Is there any discussion?
12B, or 13B2, Legends of Learning. I know you told me this once before, but could you reiterate what that was?
This was an online resource for science that the intermediate school requested from Mr. Eric.
And then just a general question I put on, it's like Title I and Right to Know grants pay for a lot of these programs, such as the high school software renewal of $17,935. If by chance we didn't have those, where would these finances fall? That fall back into our regular budget, or is that something we look
We'd have to
at?
build it into the general budget.
Okay, so it would be very tough for our taxpayers and stuff, but we didn't have these things that help with programs.
It would.
And then 13C, that was the explanation of the increase, which Mr. Gorder, I think that was the one with the
Firewall.
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 You would just reiterate with the firewall, just quickly for those people who don't know.
Yeah, what the township did was hire an independent contractor to go over the requirements, and that contractor, inspection team, decided, although under the criteria we've been grandfathered, we wouldn't have to put the firewall in, but they went to the most stringent approach so that no one could blame them in the future. I call it non-attribution approach. It isn't required by law, but we're doing it because it'll make the building safer. So we'll have that additional risk expense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries. Under new business, Mr. Fitzgerald.
There is no new business this evening.
Thank you. Pleasant Valley citizens, anyone like to address the board on any item, please come to the podium. State your name, the township you reside in, and there is a 3-minute limit.
So, Denise Oakley, Chestnut Hill Township. Okay, my other 2 questions were, at previous board meetings, it was stated Mr. Van Voorhis would give a phenomenal presentation about Bear Academy. Is this presentation going to be scheduled, or should the community should we still expect it, or should we consider it canceled? And then, has PVSD reviewed whether it's in compliance with PA statute, PACS 701 to 716? And has the statute been reviewed thoroughly, along with any other legal precedents? Okay. The budget shows, this is budgeted spending, Budget shows an increase in admin costs. So which specific programs or positions account for the increase? And why is it prioritized over classroom needs? Academic performance and curriculum. Our district's math and reading scores have been flat or declining for years. What measurable improvement target is set for this year and who's accountable if it's not met? Which curriculum changes in the past 3 years have been discontinued because they did not improve students' outcome? And when will the public see the first progress report on the newly adopted curriculum and the metrics? Staffing, has the board benchmarked teacher salaries against neighboring districts this year? And if so, what's the gap? And what's the plan to close it? And when will support staff raises be decided? And will they match inflation? Student support and safety. How many counselors are currently employed by the district-wide, and what is the average student to counsel ratio? What percentage of reported bullying cases last year resulted in documented action, and what follow-up process exists to verify the resolution? What specific safety upgrades were made in the past year, and which schools still lack them? Community engagement and transparency. Board meeting agendas sometimes are posted less than 48 hours before the meetings, and will you commit to a 7-day public posting period? What formal process exists for reviewing and acting on public feedback from meetings? And when was it last used? And lastly, can you provide one example from the past year where community input directly changed a board decision? If there's something else I missed. No, got it.
All right. Mr. Fitzgerald's going to address.
Well, I guess I have a question. You had made reference to PA statute 701 to 716. Was there a particular concern that you had that as to why you were raising that?
I can't say it's a legal issue because I'm not a lawyer. So I
Fair
don't
enough.
know if you heard it, saw it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, the reference is to the Sunshine Act.
Correct.
And it's a very voluminous statute, so you put that out there.
Yeah.
This is a district who places this agenda well before the required 24. It's a 24-hour requirement, and this is out usually at least several days, if not 48 hours.
12:01 on Monday morning.
12:01 Monday morning. Okay, so it's out 36 hours well in
And
advance.
it's
of that.
automatic. I don't set that.
More than
It's
36,
the program.
136 hours. In terms of the agenda items, they are noticed on the agenda. Executive sessions are specific to permissible executive session items. Issues involving notice of these meetings are advertised with newspapers of general circulation. So those are generally the requirements of the Sunshine Act. So I don't know if there's a particular concern that you had.
I think over the past 2 meetings, yes. So I'm asking the question.
Well, I guess I would need to know what the issue is, so maybe I can address that. I could maybe help that conversation.
I can't, that's why I just posed the question that way, because I'm not the lawyer.
Yeah,
You
I
are.
don't see, in terms of how the
I think
meeting,
that things that occurred last 2 meetings, that's why I'm asking the question.
yeah, in terms of, now, if we're talking about voting meetings that I was present at, I don't see any issue with how the meetings occurred.
I guess you'd have to go back and listen to the tape.
Okay, well,
That's what I can say.
well, you're referencing it, so I would help you on the question. What was the particular event that caused concern to you, and maybe I can address that.
I don't want to stand here as a lawyer to interpret what was said. That's why I have it in this context.
Right. I wish I could give you a better answer. I just don't know what you're
Yeah,
referring to.
I think I want to look at that. Just like.
Anyone else?
Janet Dooner from Polk Township. I guess we can never just have one person speak, but I don't know if this is going to come up in the work session. We talked last time about the community questions and that all of the board members were going to receive, I believe,
did.
years. Are we doing that during the work session as a discussion, or is there any follow-up with that?
I could just tell you we did all receive them.
You did receive them, but
Prior
we're
to
not
this
going
meeting.
to pursue it. I don't know if we're going to pursue a discussion about the output of were the questions answered, and I know you don't have to answer those, but I think that's the point of sharing it with the board members, is that maybe we can engage in that conversation. And thank you, Mr. Kazicki, for the brief engagement about our superintendent's review. And you brought up some valid points about improvement in the way the direction of the school is going, and I appreciate at least the conversation to make the people understand the entire process. Last night at the Citizens Advisory meeting, it was limited, but I think the big end of conversation ended up being about this high school safety. And I don't know if there's more to come about high school safety regarding the backpacks. There were some mentions of it, and if that is forthcoming so that parents can be prepared what the overall plan is for the high school safety regarding backpacks, if there's something more big to come. Because you did mention the word investment, that the school had invested or that the board had invested in something, and I think that's what I was just trying to address that area. But thank you for having the meeting last night. It was good. Thank you.
And with that, I mean, not aggressive, but I'm guessing we probably would have if we had time, but I guess September would be a little late. Is that something like we could just?
I think we could maybe, how about during work session?
Well, yeah, so if you want to stay off the work session, we can, that'll be recorded as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, some of these questions they should ask at the work session as far as I'm concerned, because so that we can answer them. This
Correct.
is our business meeting.
Right.
Anyone else?
Teresa Pesh from Eldred Township. So my two concerns, I would think they would be in the agenda because the school year is starting soon. So the one concern is I'm following up with what Janet Dooner just said about the backpacks. And so is there what I would call a security protocol that Pleasant Valley District, the school district is having, since the students will be bringing their backpacks to the school and having them, as I understand, they're going to have them on their person. So will that be addressed to the parents ahead of time of the process for that? Like, I don't know if there's going to be an x-ray machine or what the plan is. And then the other statement I would like to say is regarding student surveys. If you're not going to address it in this meeting, can you address it in the next meeting of the student surveys that you plan to happen? Because I understand surveys come up during the course of the year, but the student surveys that you plan to happen for the students, like say which surveys, when they'll be given out, and also the mode of communication with parents. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Pleasant Valley School Directors. Anyone?
I have an item. At the last MCTI meeting, it was a lengthy meeting. It went longer than a half hour.
Sorry.
But there was a lot of topic going on, a lot of conversation going on regarding students that would have the ability to attend MCTI along with going to a charter school or a outside cyber entity. And we wanted to have some dialogue on that. And I wanted to put that on a table. It's being brought back to our neighboring districts as well with our shared MCTI students. Mark, you know where I'm going with this, so can we have some dialogue and enlighten the board as to what's happening there with that conversation?
Sure. There was a question posed at the meeting surrounding tuition agreements with some of the various statewide cyber charter schools to allow for students who are residents of one of the sending districts to MCTI to attend the cyber charter school, or to attend MCTI, that even though they're attending a cyber charter school. So the question ultimately was, I think, posed to me, and we're finalizing our research on that, as to whether there's any absolute mandate to require or allow those students to attend. Well, first and foremost, students who attend cyber charter schools would not take any of the places that are allotted for us or for any of the sending districts. So that can push that aside. Ultimately, the question is, can the collective joint operating committee, in conjunction with the sending districts, effectively prohibit students, charter school students, from attending MCTI? As the research is finalized, I'm inclined to believe the answer is yes to that. It's not I don't believe it's a First Amendment issue, as it would be potentially if you were at, say, a parochial school, for instance. But I think the discussion off the joint operating committee from that night was, just start feeling at, your home districts as to where you would be on that issue. I don't think an answer needs to be done tonight, because I think the issue is going to first go back to the joint operating committee. But ultimately, I think what the board should probably do is start thinking about, does it want to have an official policy of prohibiting cyber charter school students who are residents of Pleasant Valley to attend MCTI? I think that's the ultimate question.
I've got a question. Since we picked a charter school, how's that billing? How would we propose that we would handle the financial aspect?
Well, there is an offset, and I can't speak to it in the most gracious of manners, but there's a process through the Department of Education as to how that would work when a student potentially attends half of their year at MCTI. And does that then reduce kind of, some of the exposure on our end for payment wise? In a weird way, it does. So there are implications to it. I can bring that in for consideration.
I think
That's what the contract.
I think it's not.
Well, it's twofold.
Yeah.
It's one, at MCTI, they're going to pay a combination of an ADM rate for average daily membership as well as a capital expenditure. But then there is also a reduction in the subsidy charge against us for attending the cyber charter because they're over at MCTI.
That's my point.
So it's a kind of a complicated topic, frankly, because of the issues with cyber charters generally, but then the implications financially locally, both for MCTI and for PV, which it doesn't always align. There's some conflicting issues there.
But if we have, right now, we have a waiting list of our own brick and mortar.
They will never take that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so
Yes.
we've got 600, so it's almost a dead end. We got 600 on our waiting list.
Well,
For
but
right now,
once-
yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right, go ahead.
For right now, you are correct. It is it's interesting. It came up at MCTI because we were seeing that same document come up at a lot. I represent a number of technical schools, and this tuition agreement was coming up. I think it was coming up in part because the cybers realized they don't have any statutory authority to send their kids to the local CTIs. So they're looking to kind of effectively backdoor their way into it. So I think it's a pretty interesting question. I don't think the Joint Operating Committee has officially taken an official position on it yet. I think it's something that we're going to further discuss, but I think it's something that then might come back to the home boards.
If I could interject, another problem with it is the transportation issue. Because a parent would have to bring the student to the homeschool to catch the bus, because there's no specific transportation from their home to MCTI. So that's another problem that comes into place.
There are logistical issues too.
Yes.
Yep.
Mhm. Anyone else at this time?
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Not on the,
Not on that subject?
not on that subject.
Okay.
So just, I guess, from my perspective, to explain a little bit about the process of why I voted yes for the increase. The performance evaluation is based on 5 different dimensions. Those dimensions are scored as somewhere terminology around needs improvement, proficient, distinguished, something along those lines.
Correct.
Out of the 5 elements, each of us scores individually. Those get rolled together. Overall, that cumulative score on 2 of those elements was distinguished. 3 of them were proficient.
Mm-hmm.
So from my perspective, that puts the performance at above an average based on what we asked. From my perspective, I provided specific feedback last year on what I thought needed to be improved, and I thought those items were improved. And I think Dr. Conrad is open to feedback. So I supported that increase, but that's a little bit of the background of the process, that we all do it individually and those kind of roll together. For me, it's very simple math. There's 5 of them, 2 of them were above average, 3 of them were average. That overall is above average, which is why I supported the increase. The other thing, and I get, this is, I guess, more direct feedback than I feel like what I'm getting here. It's difficult to act on feedback if you're not providing specific information to act on it. So if you feel like there was a violation of the Sunshine Act, it is hard for us to go back and watch a 2-hour video and figure out at what point you perceived a violation. So I feel like it's not actionable for us to do anything about it, and it's not helpful.
Anyone?
I have a comment on the backpacks, and I appreciate you bringing that up. We talked about this, so you were not at this meeting back in May. We did briefly talk about the backpacks and kind of action items we're looking to take at the high school. My interpretation, I said this to everybody, my interpretation is, and I'm going to use a vape as an example to keep this, calm, but if somebody were to bring a vape into a school, okay, whether they bring it in through their backpack, their pocket, put it in their locker, it's really not changing much about access, right? So I don't think additional extreme security measures are going to be needed. Obviously, everybody's going to be a little more heightened, a little more aware of things because it's a change. I don't think there's any additional big security things that need to be taken. Just continue to do what we've been doing. Last year was a very good year. I like acting on things. The West Enders, the parents, you do a great job with your kids. Okay, in general, for the most part, almost every single one of you do a great job with your kids. There are a couple bad apples. I get that. Everybody experiences that. Just saying, keep doing what you're doing, and if there are any specific safety concerns, bring it up, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I just want to jump on that safety as well. I think one of the big things is we starts at home, and I'm wondering, I went to the Safety Institute in Harrisburg last year, and in there they had a video that showed parents how their students, how their children could possibly bring stuff like vaping and different things into school. And it showed how water bottles was one thing, how different jump drives and different things like that. So maybe Chief Bronson, maybe there's something like that we could throw on our website to, hey parents, here's some of the new trends that students are doing. That's why we're looking for these types of things, just to give them a little update on that. You follow me on that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. And the other thing, I know we talked about this possibly in September. I know people are still asking about the kindergarten thing, and we were supposedly going to get back to data that's going to be happening in September. And I want to wish the best of luck to all of our staff, teachers, administrators, coaches, students, and athletes for this upcoming year. All the best to you.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's coming way too quickly. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Dr. Conrad.
Sure. Just a couple of words of acknowledgement for some great things that have been happening. So I just want to thank all of our 12-month staff, especially our custodians, our maintenance, bookkeepers, payroll, secretaries, all of our administrators. A special shout out to Mr. Smale because obviously, he is constantly running around the high school, coordinating things between CHA. Mike Sanders is here tonight. He's been doing an incredible job. The communication has just been wonderful. And, again, we have a large project that we're working through. So we appreciate everyone's patience and, understanding that, we're going to have a great school year, but we're also still working on some major renovations. So, just want to thank everyone for pulling through in the summertime. And, we have a lot to continue to work through. We had a wonderful teacher induction. I believe we had 22 new teachers that were here for the past 2 days. So I definitely want to acknowledge Lori Fulmer, Janelle Pemberton, Cindy Johnson. Our technology department has done a great job. Various departments. We have some mentors. Whitson's was here. And it was really nice that people were able to come out, really encourage our new teachers. A lot of really bright and smiling faces. We really look forward to, meeting with them on a personal level, but also, they're going to be responsible for helping support our kids. So we are really thrilled for what they're going to be able to bring to Pleasant Valley. And it was a really great opening. So, so thank you. And then yesterday, actually, I'm not sure if some people knew, but we did actually have a leak, and clearly the rainstorms came through. We had a leak in the athletic weight room in the high school, and it had nothing to do with the construction, but just some pipes and things just weren't aligned, and all of a sudden, a bunch of people, and I would really want to shout them out. Mr. Boylan, Mr. Smale, Mr. Krasinski, Crystal Ref, the custodians, technology staff. We actually had some individuals from St. Luke's that were coming in and really all hands on deck just to make sure, because the rain was just coming down so quickly. We actually had Miko. I called Mike Sanders, and Mike was able to put some calls in, and all of a sudden Miko, who is working at our high school, was able to turn back around and and just, help us out and to patch some things up and then fix things, and not just a patch. So it was really nice that everyone was coming together, and that's what Pleasant Valley is all about, is us working through challenges and everyone lending expertise. But it's nice that we rolled up our sleeves, and I really want to acknowledge all those people. Obviously, we look forward. We've been doing a lot of great planning this summer. The admin team has been working extremely hard. We're looking at curriculum, supports for students, and we're really looking forward to all of our 10-month employees, our teachers, coming back this year. We have excellent teachers here, and they care about kids, and that's what keeps us going. Really proud and strong at Pleasant Valley. So look forward to working with everyone as they come back next Wednesday and Thursday for teacher orientation. And that's it. So just go Bears.
I just want to again wish everyone a great 25-26. I can't believe it's 25-26 and my last one coming to kindergarten. So have a great year, everyone. You work so hard for our kids and our community. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. How about like a 3-minute break? Maybe I can get my voice back. Yeah, all of a sudden it like left me. like to begin our working session meeting. And we're going to start with operations. Randy? Or you're going to?
All right, good evening, everyone. Tonight, we have Mike Sander from CHA, who's the Senior Project Manager of our next door renovation project. Going to be a little presentation on some things and just Mike is going off. There's a lot of moving parts over there. We got like 100 guys there at times throughout the high school working on this, so Mike is coordinating everything very well. But just like to take care of it.
Thank you, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be back here in front of you guys again. It's actually only been a couple weeks since we were here last time. It was the end of July. But even in that short time, we had a ton going on. I'm glad you guys had the opportunity to see that kind of firsthand tonight a little bit ago. So we'll, a lot of this stuff actually, even from the time these pictures were taken, is now outdated by a lot. So it's a very fast moving process so far. We have a tremendous amount of workforce on site. I think I quoted that last time. We were averaging above 100 guys pretty much every single day, and that'll be the case at the end of the summer. So a lot of manpower, a lot of moving parts and pieces, and it's a lot of great work happening. So it's really happy to be part of this great team. So we'll kind of go through here and
I can't wait till it looks like that.
well, we got the picture near the end of the project. But so just as a reminder, which is kind of a daunting task, everything in blue is kind of what's been under construction or some shape or form, which is a lot of stuff that we walked through this evening. So we're really working to wrap a lot of that blue up. We'll turn that over to green to be used and then work on some more of the center sections. As well as outside, there's been a massive amount of movement going on. Paving's been going on in that new parking lot. We have light poles being ready for lights to be set. We have underground utilities being completed, all the stuff for the heating, the oil tank relocation, new propane tank, all that great stuff has been going on all around the site. So there's been a robust amount of activity happening everywhere. So there's really work going on all the sides of the building. Right, just to kind of walk through, we were able to hit a bunch of these spaces tonight. They are even further along than what they were photoed here. So the final finishes are being installed everywhere. We have flooring and ceilings going on opposite sides of hallways and corridors throughout that G section, the band and choral room, that auditorium entrance, as well as the library. And then not to forget the new Bear Academy is pretty much wrapped up in just the waiting floor. Behind the scenes, where the mass amount of work has been going on that we do just get to cover up, we have brand new ductwork and electrical and low voltage and plumbing systems that have all been completed above the ceilings and waiting and ready for the next phases as we introduce the actual head-end equipment that gets installed in the next step. So all of that's been moving on. We are starting testing, and as Dr. Conrad said, we'll be testing fire alarm and low voltage systems. That's getting wrapped up as our life safety test is complete. And then we have, or in the process of finishing all the temporary partitions that now set us up and separate us from the students and staff as we look to start the new school year. So we'll have separation from the cafeteria, the center floor, other areas like that. We have just more photos of all the stuff. Brand new IDF rooms. We have those ceilings already closed up since when that picture was taken only a couple days ago. And then the Bear Academy and the new bathrooms, the single user bathrooms that'll be outside the cafeteria. Just as equally, as I said, there is a massive amount of work going on the outside of the building as well. So starting in the back towards the stadium, as you saw, you may have been seeing, we have new concrete sidewalks being installed. We have the base paving for the parking lot extension and infills is being installed. All the curbing is now complete that define the new islands and the new edge of roadways. And in the one picture here, we do have our subcontractors on site installing the new underground propane tanks, which helps bring this up and add to the heating capacity of the building in the near future. All the other utilities, such as relocating the giant oil tank, has been completed, so we're prepared for this upcoming heating season. And then we are continuing on still with the building addition foundations are still occurring in the admin area, starting up in the mechanical and the kitchen area as well. So it's been a very, very busy site. There is a lot of people, a lot of activity. As you would drive by in the day, it's very hard to park. So it's a good thing. And just as well as with that, you can kind of see the foundations are complete, installations on the outside, that center photo there, and we are wrapping up the plumbing underground already and preparing actually to stone that And probably before I come back to you again, you'll see a new concrete slab there. At least that is the goal. Or at some point in time in the upcoming September month, they're planning on starting to set steel columns that will define the shape of that building addition. So it's great. And that parking lot up there, PPL was here, which is wonderful. That's always a task to get them there, that new future parking lot. So they did their work, which means now we can continue on doing another underground basin. And then we'll look to complete and pave that lot in its whole, sitting out by the bus depot there on 209, which helps alleviate a lot of congestion. So a lot of stuff going on, a lot of great stuff is happening.
Mike, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So that new parking lot, once it's done, are we able to use it?
Yeah, we're turning it over.
You'll turn it over, okay. There's no,
Originally, we were gonna hold on to it, but with the help and partner with everybody, we found other solutions. So
oh, okay, wonderful.
Do you know what about that happens?
sometime in October.
Okay.
Yep, so the
Not
same
bad.
site guy is doing all the paving out there. He's gonna jump right over there. I would hope to beat that, but that's kind of what he's projecting right now.
I'll take the opportunity now just to add to that, because once that is provided back to the district, our intention then is the staff members and transportation bus drivers that are parking in the front of the high school, they'll slide over. That also then creates other opportunities for our students who have a desire to drive to school. That has been communicated to the high school parents and students that, opportunities in the future, and again, contingent upon when this space is created and finalized, we'll be able to then have some of our staff move to that main entrance as they were last year, which then creates some additional opportunities for students. So we'll keep everyone up to date on that, but just wanted to clearly explain that to everyone, what that timeline now looks like. So thanks.
All right, then a quick snapshot, as we talked about last time, and it's a little fuzzy, I apologize for showing clear, of where we are percentage-wise in phase and versus where you are overall spent. So you're a little bit under 10% overall on your project budget, and we are well past that in the progress of the job. So we do have a lot of material storage set on site. And preparing for our next phase. So as we can kind of see, as we're nearing completion, in the front group there, we had 5 or 6 what we call phase sections that are wrapping up at about 95% mark. The building additions are scheduled to wrap for the next school year, the start of the 26 season. So they are tracking on target at about 10 to 15%.
And you'll be working on those while school, the
Correct.
addition,
All
the
3
additions on
building
the outside.
additions are continuous throughout the year, as well as our next one is that center core, the area that we walked around today that was completely blocked off. That's there, and the second floor of like the science area, that's the continuation of our upcoming phase, and it gets turned over at the end of the year. And then it's the summer. Then rolling on into our next step. So really the next thing is we have cleaners on the docket, working hand in hand with Randy's team as we're systematically going through rooms, final cleaning them, getting them ready for turnover and teacher movement, which is a great and challenging process all of itself. So a lot of moving parts and pieces there, but everything is coming together. We are doing final tests and checks on all light safety systems. As this is a giant phase project, we do have a long duration of time where we run both old and new simultaneously together, such as HVAC or electrical and fire alarm. All that is, we're kind of fine tuning to make sure they are cooperating with each other, the old and the new, and making sure we're kind of in unison with that. And then we by this point, we'll have all the kind of temporary partitions, and we'll have the fence relocation, so all the traffic flow is set up for where it needs to be in the fall. And then, like we just mentioned, we'll continue on the actual building additions themselves. So over the next several months, you'll see a large progress in them as they regain their focus to actually expanding on those themselves. So we are working with the admin staff, they're doing great, making sure we're all finalized as far as egress and pathways, and there's no pinch points. And then to make sure that we have a final traffic plan, so everyone's aware of the first day where they should be, and making sure we're separated and everybody is under wraps. So that's really what we're working for on the next bit.
Any questions for Mike?
I'm not sure if it's him or us. The drinking water, maybe we talk about drinking water for our students and stuff throughout the building, because there's not going to be fountains or anything like that, or if they are fountains, then they're really safe because of all the destruction in the water. Is that something falls on us? Is that something you're providing?
So anything that's new that we have, we'll get tested, we'll get it back to be tested, and we can extend that out to different areas. So right now domestically, we don't have.
I didn't see the water fountains, that's why I think.
Well, there's water, anything that is not a construction area that was there is there still to this day. So there's some outside like the main lobby area, some outside the kitchen or the cafeteria are going to remain in function, are not affected by the way the old building was set up. So a total tie-in won't occur until that building mechanical addition is complete, which would be next summer. So you have kind of two separate systems.
So no impact on the water?
There is
and-
not on the rest.
Yep.
We can certainly do additional testing.
I just wanted to.
That's not.
Right, and we have testing year-round.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have testing anyway.
We've been kind of doing that in conjunction with, Michael is a very good contractor, so they're pretty in step and tune with the whole process.
So for, let's just say the past 10 weeks, got about 100 people on site every day, around 7 days a week.
Yeah.
When the school year starts, can we expect to see that same volume of personnel and work during the school year, or is it going to back off, not as many personnel? Is it 7 days a week at that point? What does that look like?
So I think it'll be a back down on both cases. So they'll return to a not, unfortunately or fortunately in school construction, the biggest window to get stuff done is when people aren't there, which in today's world is about 10 weeks. 9 to 10 weeks is our golden hour, and every contractor knows it, that when they have free reign, they're going to go as much as they can. So to that benefit, they man up to a job like that, continue to work as hard as they can. As we go in the next steps, you will see a lot more, a bunch of different subcontractors for the general contractor as we work, such as steel and masonry, all those guys. But I would anticipate that our total manpower will dip down. It will not be that high. They still will continue to meet the phasing schedule that we need. And then we may see points in time where we have a giant influx, depending on how that system kind of gets itself set up. And then I would anticipate next summer, we'll have a lot more people here just as well again. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. We're good on that one. All right.
Yeah.
Item B, high school traffic flow. Who's doing that?
Can we start with that?
Thank you for walking us through earlier.
No problem. I'm glad you guys,
Yeah.
good, it's great to talk about it. It's another thing to live it every day and really appreciate it. You have a lot of people trying really hard to make some great things happen.
It's a big project.
I'll let you start and then I can jump in and.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we worked with one of our site making plans that was created actually for the contractors and helped modify and kind of color code it to help depict a lot of traffic flow. So obviously during this construction period, you have a lot of unique traffic flow that will occur compared to when the project's all done. We want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So I'm going to pick the start at kind of the bottom left-hand corner, and we'll work our way to the top right. So first, probably the most important is that purplish line there, that the mouse cursor is just on. So for the beginning, for this upcoming school year, that will be the entrance and exit of the parent drop-offs at both the morning and afternoon hours. So they will flow down around that new parking lot that we are talking about to the backside behind the gymnasium and unload where that green little star asterisk is in that blue hashed area. That takes them into a direct access corridor, and then they'll be able to disperse from there. And the traffic will then go around the island and head back down until it enters that two-way traffic, and then you discharge out to 209. So that'll be continuous there. Above them, there is a gate that will separate them from the bus traffic. It's an existing gate that'll be either manned or closed at these times to make sure there's no back and forth to keep parents away from bus traffic.
Is there parking in the purple area?
There is going to be some parking in the purple area. Yep. Then the next one out front, so the orange areas as we move across this, that will be the combination of staff and faculty parking as they share that one. There will also be bus drivers associated with those different spots as well. And that blue star or asterisk will be where staff that's parking in that area will enter the building, as well as one that's just a little bit cut off to the top up there. They will enter by the band room, that hallway that we walked down today as well. It's a card reader and other band room access. So then, as far as staff and student driver traffic, we have those dashed blue lines. So we will have entrance off of the 209 side as they then enter that temporary curb cut to avoid where the building addition footprint is right now, and that's how they will enter into that parking lot area. We are going to drag that fence in to provide a little bit more driving path for people, so there's not as cluttered in there. So that'll happen next week to allow for a little bit more access along that dashed blue line. So then that parking lot will be split. I may have not captured the perfect delineation, but it will be partially staff parking and partially student driver parking. So that's the separation of those colors when you're looking at that map. And I think the kids have already painted most of the spots that are out there, so that's pretty cool to look at as well. And then student drivers will then enter into the green asterisk up top there again at the band oral room entrance there, that long hallway. Then as we kind of scroll up to the top of this, back there is the buses themselves. So all the buses will come from the middle school side and come down off of like the 115 area, and will now circle around, which is the final layout of that new parking lot out there. So they will come around down towards the temporary fencing that we have that separates us by the mechanical addition, and enter in there and head towards the library and then up towards JCM there. There will be a designated stop spot, and then they will stack there for their offloading, and they'll enter in by the library. Because their designated student rider entrance will be off by the library. The other accessible buses and everything else will also be up there. We did pour a temporary ADA ramp to allow them to get over to the curbs and then go into any first floor area that we would need to make sure that they're accommodated. So that would be the route for drop-off. So that would be our morning route.
One thing I wanted to add is first off, we probably had, I think, 15 people or so putting our heads together, thinking about, all the variables that we have to really consider. And obviously with any sort of construction, we know that there's going to be some challenges, because people are used to doing it one way and now they're going to have to do it another. So, we're trying to communicate this not only to the board who, received this map, I believe it was yesterday, make sure, that you guys had time to really digest it, but then also for our teams, whether it's our safety team, our administration team, our athletic team, things like that we really have, considered, how it's going to impact everyone. If you take a look actually on the map, and it might not be visible right here, but on the lower right-hand side, there's actually what I call keynotes. Okay. And there's some very clear things that I want to make sure everyone understands. So the first one is that all parent drop-off and pickup will enter and exit from Route 209. Okay. And so as we kind of looked back to the map, it was that purple section, as you can see. So you can imagine, that if we have an increase in the number of students who are getting dropped off, that 209 is going to be backed up. And again, we're trying to encourage parents to, consider either carpooling or, more importantly, just taking a bus. The other thing I want to make everyone aware too is that the student drivers that are in that kind of bluish color where those parking spaces are kind of near the auditorium, the students would actually be entering from Route 209 from the roundabout, and then they would also be leaving the school in the same, out through that area of 209. So again, it's delineated under the keynotes. Staff. What we're saying for all staff is that staff, all of them would enter Route 209 and they're going to exit out of 115 again to avoid a bottleneck and a split from that particular area, obviously in the mornings and then in the afternoons. And we've also worked with the Growing Place because we know that we have to accommodate some of the families there. And obviously they'll be able to enter through 209. They're communicating this with their families as well. And they're going to be exiting Route 115. There's two main points that aren't here, but I think it's worth saying. Number one is that no one but construction vehicles will be entering from Route 115 and coming down that driveway to where the JC Mills is on the right, and then you get towards the auditorium. That's number one. And I'm trying to think. Number two was where else? Oh, number two. So for parents that have students at both the middle school and high school, in the past, that you've been able to kind of use that connecting road along the fence near the stadium. That is inaccessible, completely inaccessible. And it's due to pure safety. We have buses, we have students. So what that means then is that parents who have kids at both the middle school and high school, you're going to have to drop off your student most likely at, the middle school 115 or 209 first, and then come back around and then go to, the alternate road, which would be then in the case of the high school, because they're starting a few minutes earlier, dropping the high school students off first, coming around the roundabout, and then dropping off at Route 115. Again, we all know that there's already traffic and challenges there in the morning. So we are continuing to encourage parents and families that unless you're driving to school and it doesn't need a parking spot, the bus might be your best bet. So just keep that in mind. And obviously, we'll continue to make adjustments if need be, communicate them not only to our families, to our athletic director, and we'll talk about the PM as well, because it's a very similar pattern, and we'll talk about that in a second. But certainly we want to monitor this and we want to make any adjustments. But I think we're in a really good place, not only communicating this to families, but everyone knowing exactly what they can and can't do with regards to where they can come, park, enter, and exit. Okay.
One question I have this is still AM?
Yes, this is AM.
So I'm dropping a student off, I come looping around, can I make a left to go in front of the school to get to the circle?
That's my question. No. So you can only go right, and so if I have to go to middle school, right, he's saying, you drop your kid off, you're gonna come back through.
Right.
Well, that's a right only right now, go back to that purple.
Right.
Like cut across the school to try to loop, I have to get back around to get the other kid over there.
Mhm.
How's that, what's
You have to go
the
to Burger
use case
King
for
and
that?
turn
Or I have to go right, all the way up, past White's, back up the, We're Lake Road and around.
No, I think the only access is the circle. I know other road you're talking about the other side.
No, here.
No.
It was said that all traffic has to exit on the 209.
Right.
But can I cut in front of the school to get the circle to go back left to
Right.
come up to the old former Rite Aid, come down to 115 to get to the most.
Yeah, you can go around the small traffic circle.
Yeah, but
It's
you
not-
can't,
No,
you
you
can't.
can't.
No.
You won't be able to make
Here,
it.
You can't get to that.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna have a security guard that's gonna route traffic.
You actually can't get through that parking lot to the bigger circle.
Yeah.
When they put that circle in, they actually put like a blockage there.
No,
No,
I wanna say-
when you come out on the purple, you
Right.
can only go
Right.
right. So you
Correct.
cannot get to the circle.
That's right.
So you have to go right and then pull in somewhere and turn around to
Yeah.
get back to the circle.
Correct.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, my son is too.
So I'll have to drop my son off, come back out,
Make it right and
go
then,
right all the way around, loop,
Yep.
unless you had someone direct traffic and go left. You're saying if I can't go across and face that building, because that's where that is, or we're gonna have to route parents all the way. So for instance, if parents are going to work, they're gonna
Right.
take that into accommodation, if they have to go all the way around.
that's right. Yeah.
Unless we can post someone there.
We'll just whip a UE at Burger King. That's what's gonna happen.
That's exactly what's gonna happen.
That's what's gonna happen.
But it's busy, go.
Yeah, it's,
So if that's the case, can we then read that out so people visually see it on this map?
we
Because
did,
it's misleading.
but that's a good point. We did actually order signs very clearly that delineates that, because you'll see it in the PM where we're actually going to need the sports buses, the athletic buses, and the mini buses that pick up the students, that need to use that front entrance. So that's why we do have signs that designate not only in the orange space to say this is for staff parking only, because I would imagine that there may be some people that want to, steal a parking spot real quick. I know we have signage, but yeah, I mean, we can.
And you could just put a little verb in the key.
I think that could be helpful. We didn't want to make the map confusing, because I know Mike and I talked about
But that's a big one.
Xing things out.
For people.
I think and that's a good point for Chief Rawlinson, is that we probably and we've actually talked about today that we'll probably have to have somebody right at that location, somebody at the parent drop off, because again, there's going to be a lot of parents that are getting frustrated that it's impacting their time. And that's why we're continuing to encourage to say, you might want to think about alternates. But I think for us, having somebody there is also going to be really important. The signage is one thing, but following the signs is another. So, but yeah, good point. So, and then if you want to jump into the PM, because that area actually does, it's addressed in the PM too.
You have that, is it, just one down?
Yeah.
Okay, so, the PM1 has very, very similar setup as we again have the separation of the buses and the parents. So you will have the buses up at the top, they will stage in their actual formal staging, which will be kind of diagonal or catty corner across that parking lot. So they'll all span out there for the loading operation, and then they will still again then exit up towards 115. So that'll again to the top will all be just buses only. The purple again signifies where the parent pickup is in this case. And as you can see, the difference here is that we do have sports and accessible buses now have to use the front of of that school area to pick up and load at that time in operation. So as we talked about then as well, as far as student drivers, we do have them exiting via 209 and then faculty up to 115 to provide a little bit of separation and help with congestion in that area.
So you're saying they're going up 115, they're gonna go up the old Chestnut Hill sitting on the right-hand side and JCM on the left. And during the morning, I know we say it's only construction, but Is there gonna be
We're
gates
gonna,
we
we're
don't
gonna
have?
post a bunch of signs and get.
Oh, yeah, we know signs.
It's gonna be.
I think the person that we're gonna
Let me
put,
see.
in the morning,
See,
right.
side or speeding, let me see, I
Yeah.
need to get done quicker, so.
I think for us too, I mean, with our admin team, and again, I think all hands on deck for the first couple of weeks, in fact, because I think it is going to be a little bit of a learning curve. A lot of people would come through that 115 to try to cut through and then make a right out of 209 to get further down without avoiding the roundabouts. So yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have to really have people stationed there during that time, and that's something we'll work through. Great point for that. So yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Good luck to the security guards.
all right.
We need bright orange.
Yeah.
On to item C. HVAC chiller at PVI.
Yes, so I think Randy and I can jump on that one together. I let him speak for his struggles over there over the last, year or more, but, so you do have an ongoing fit with the chillers over there at PBI. They are original to the building, they're nearing their end of their feasible life. What we talked about is looking at possible replacement options, and what we'd like to do is bring our team in there to check it out, give some potential options and review, and then bring them back to the board. You are having continuous issues with them. They do have some community issues as well as the amount of time, effort, and money that is being spent on them. So we think a fast track investigation, bring you back some recommendations and see if we have some opportunities or options to even try to target it the following year. Chillers are a very long lead time, so that is kind of hence the priority of jumping on it, not necessarily the actual thing itself, but they take 9 months to make. So it's something that we want to look at immediately and try to figure out the best recommendation for you guys moving forward as that fits into a larger picture. Anything you want to add on the chillers?
Randy.
That pretty much says it.
Well-
As everybody knows, we've had some issues over there over the years, and they are old, and we'd like to take advantage of new technology and hopefully address these issues.
I think Randy ought to mention about the repairs that have had to be done, that they're costly.
Very costly. You want to see dollar amounts? I think I put around the school put around $30,000 last year in maintaining those chillers and getting them ready for the school year and throughout the summer. And I'm probably close to that mark again. Now a new chiller is quite expensive, and there's 2 of them. So last year I was hoping we get 30,000 in it and give Mike and his team some time to prepare for a much needed updated system. But it's now. The time is now to do it, in my opinion.
We didn't talk about budgeting for this during the project. We did.
What we'd like to do is we'll bring our team in from underneath our retainer with you guys, investigate what we think and bring possible solutions to you forward. And that's the reason I want to point it out to you, because if we decide that we want to proceed with one of the options, we need to move on it relatively quickly to make a fight to try it for next year. So we're going to bring our mechanical engineers, our head of our departments in, try to investigate, figure out what we think some of the viable solutions are. It's not just, we don't just want to pull one out and put another one in its place. They are facing some internal issues that we think we can correct with proper equipment changes. So that's kind of what we want to look at first.
And you could just verify that also the problem with the repairs is getting the equipment to work in because of its age, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, parts are a little harder to come by.
Right.
And when you find them, they make sure you pay for them because they're limited.
So they are looking to do this, bring their people in right away because they need the lead time to get the equipment. So they are looking at whatever solution they come up with, our approval possibly next month.
Based on the replacement, are you gonna have to halt any type of construction in any specific area to change them out?
It's because it's PBI.
PBI.
This is PBI, not the high school. It's not high school.
The high school is included, we're already,
Yeah.
we're doing that, yeah.
Thank you.
Those come next summer, so that'll.
And
But PBI, no, it would be we look at a replacement options to make sure that any potential future plans would be accommodated. We wouldn't be short-sighted in just doing a very simple swap. It'd be very easy to do the size tonnage right now, yank them out, put ones in, or make a project to do that. But that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to be very short-sighted in what you're going to potentially or could potentially have to do to fix long-term HVAC and moisture issues.
Yeah, knowing the frailness of the system, what we're trying to do is be proactive so that we don't find ourselves with a situation where we're without the equipment. So we'll have the plan put together, we'll present that possibly in September.
Correct.
If the board thinks it's a reasonable approach. And then that would be scheduled for next year. Yeah.
And there are dollars already.
We've already
And the capital-
set aside money.
We've already have money set aside in the capital improvement.
It-
So
it-
it's not
part
like,
of our major plan, we've
It's our
already
plan,
allocated
yeah.
funds for it.
so these are just
So
things that are,
We'll bring in our team of experts and just try to get some feasible options presented in front of you and allow you to make that.
yeah, that'd be the first meeting in September. And then hopefully things look okay. We could approve it at the voting meeting at the end of September
Yeah,
for this
and
one.
And September
Once
is,
we get there, then we have to do the RFP to get both of those, contracts.
my question was gonna be, is September early enough
It's gonna be very tight.
for,
Yeah,
We're
to,
gonna-
to do it next summer?
We're gonna try very hard, so we'll keep kind of in lock.
The reason for.
That's why we're telling you.
In order to
Okay.
have confidence that we can do it next summer, it requires us to review what they're gonna bring forward in September so that we can make a timely decision, so we can go out with the RFP, request for.
That we could
Okay.
put it on at the end of August. The question is, I have a question that if your guys get here between now and our second meeting, which is the 28th, could it possibly, would you have a recommendation that quickly?
We're gonna try, yeah. We're
Then
pretty
maybe-
committed to try to make
Maybe
that
it could
happen.
get on the 28th
To
then.
give you that fighting chance. Yeah,
Okay.
This time is definitely on the essence.
Okay, I see lots of heads going this way.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, the step would be to give you a recommendation and some options. That would be, what we're fighting at.
All right, next item, unless there's other questions.
I have a general question about the site. Is the baseball field right now currently being used for any type of storage or activity for the
field?
fall? The baseball field, the
High school?
High school, no athletic fields, where everything is contained within that, what was the old lagoon, the PennDOT laydown area.
And then the area that's next to where toward the middle school on the left there, if like you're going to the middle, that side, that end lot that you're using for
Yeah.
storage, is that long-term storage or short-term? Like where, this materials that is there, are they gonna be used for the additions? Or is that more long-term?
So it is both. So we have items that may sit there that aren't used for next ones, such as mechanical equipment, or you have things as simple as masonry block you see stacked up there, which is used continuously throughout additions, foundations, anywhere. So it's a combination. And the contractors have their C-cans, which is containment of, sealants and all the day-to-day needs that they may have, so.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, next item is middle school classrooms without AC.
Yeah, so our next one is you guys, as Norm talked about a little bit earlier, investing into your capital improvement plan. I think that was brought to you earlier this past year, looking at potential options to help remediate the 29 or 30-some classrooms that do not have HVAC at the middle school. So we spent some time looking at the overall picture of your buildings, and we'd like to present to you guys in the September range about the future steps in the capital improvement plan as we factor in some of those key projects, such as the middle school. There are about 30 rooms that do not have HVAC, and how that lays out in a total master plan and fits into what would be your spending. So we'd like to come back and have I think we have it on the docket if we can for the first one in September.
September.
Yeah, to walk through a kind of a step in a capital improvement plan and what we think that should be our next steps. And the middle school one is one that falls higher on that list as well. It's going to be a large group of students that do not have HVAC or other.
And say we wanted to move forward there, the lead times will still put us at next summer.
It would probably factor the summer after that.
Yes.
That one,
Summer
Yeah,
after.
we will.
it would require a further design process because there's a lot more systems involved with that. Whereas the Coachella would be a little bit shorter. So that would be a 2027.
Mike's going to come back in next month and present the whole capital improvement plan that they just redid. So, but these two projects rose to the top, as that's why we're talking about them tonight. All right. Any additional questions for Randy or for Mike? Okay. Is there any public questions at this time on anything to do with what we just discussed? High school, middle school, PBI? Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks.
All right, going on to finance.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight I have a few items. The first one is a review of our capital reserve, our 2018 bond, and our consolidated bond report for July 2025. The capital reserve account has an available balance of $21,091,982.03. This is the account that these additional projects will be funded through. This has been planned for a couple of years now. We've been contributing to this account in planning for the future renovations or anything that comes up, capital improvements with the district. The monies in this account, keep in mind, can only be used for capital improvements. It cannot be used for other things. The 2018 bond account has an available balance of $0 at 7/31/25. And the consolidated bond account has an available balance of $2,449,000.56 at July 31st, 2025. That amount is part of the contingency. There's a $4 million contingency in the high school renovation project. So if we would have to touch that contingency, this would fund that, this $2.4 million. Does anybody have any questions on those account reports?
I just have a comment. I'd like to thank you for making the consolidated one. Makes it much easier for us to follow. Thank you.
You're welcome. Makes it much easier for me to follow.
Tammy, the $142,000 change order,
Correct.
is that there? Yeah, there.
No, it's not, because
Okay.
you just approved it tonight.
That's what I
so
thought,
I'll add
but
that for the August report.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on that part? Okay. My second item that I have tonight are our EPTEP reports for April and May of 2025. I'll review the May one. Our EPTEP reserve balance at May 31st, 2025 is $5,516,829.46. This is equivalent to 5 months of reserve, and we are required to maintain 4 months, so we're in a good position with that. Any questions on that? My third item tonight is the Borger ground lease. Pleasant Valley has an agreement with JRM Borger Brother Farms, leasing roughly 10 acres of land, PD land, located behind the Polk Elementary School. The ground lease is a price of $500 per year. It's been like this forever. The current lease expires March of 2026. I know it's a little bit early, but the Borger Brother Farms, they've called twice, and they just want to make sure that the board is interested in renewing this, so they know what they're doing. So that's what I'm looking for to get, is the board okay with putting, I'll get this going with Mark, we'll get a new lease, and we'll get it together for the next 5 years.
I was just gonna ask, how long was it? That's fine. Yeah. We'd have to mow it or do something to it.
Yeah, they take care of everything.
Yeah.
So, and they pay $500, they're never late, and they're eager to know that they're gonna be able to continue to do that.
Okay. Good.
Okay, I'll work with Mark, we'll get the new lease put up, and I'll bring it forward in the next couple of months for formal board approval. The last item that I have, BHA has requested a swing set to replace the frame of a swing set at Polk Elementary. Community members have also asked about a swing set there. So balanced out what we have and what we've received in rent payments from BHA since they started in September, and the utilities. And we do have enough that we can purchase this swing set. Playground Resources came in, they did an assessment for the safety. We cannot replace this, we can't put swings on the frame that's there now. It's out of code, it's not safe. So it does have to be replaced. I believe the attachment is like $16,000. So it would be for the BHA students that are there during the day for them to use it. And then it would also be available for our community when they go to that playground and use the other items that are there. We would be able to take this out of the facility budget. And as I said, with their lease payments since they started being in there since September, I believe, it will cover the cost of this. So
I've
any questions?
actually fielded this in the community, so I'm very for this.
Yeah, I have also. Are we okay? Yeah, okay.
So I'll get the formal proposal and we'll put that on for the next agenda for board approval. And that's all I have tonight, if anybody has any other questions.
Great job. All right, any public questions on finance issues that we just talked about? Yes?
Ms. Smale, are you hearing any buzz on the state budget? That it's still hanging.
It is.
I know the Senate tried to pass something, I think so the schools would be funded, but I don't know where it will go.
So right now, basic ed funding, special ed funding, adequacy, and the tax equity have all been approved by House and Senate. They don't plan on releasing any of that money until September or October. So normally we would have the first installment by this point, but they're delaying that. The charter school bill unfortunately failed. And there's a few things left. They're going back and forth now. So no, there is not a projected date that it will settle. But I'm good with the basic ed, special ed, and the equities that they passed. That's good. The charter school's a little bit of a disappointment that did not pass. Or any of it passed. So, but other than that, there's minor things that are left that affect education. The federal title monies were released, or the grants opened back up. They were coming down from federal to state. They were frozen, they did open back up.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Now I have a question. Tammy, we're in a good financial position, correct? We were not going to have to float a tran or anything of that sort, correct?
Correct.
Because there are some school districts that don't have enough money in their general fund. And what they have to do is they float what is called a tran, a tax revenue anticipation note, where they borrow from a bank until the funds come in from the state. But because Tammy has done really good with our general fund, I'd like to commend you that we are not in that position. We are in very good shape.
Okay.
Make sure everybody pays their school taxes in discount period.
All right, thank you, Tammy. Moving on to education and curriculum.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay, first is Keystone. Okay.
All right. All right. Hello, everyone. I spoke last with you, I believe, in February. I am, the assistant principal at the high school, but I am also the school assessment coordinator. So Keystones are sort of my thing. And so I'm here to provide an update and to give you some information, but also to appeal to you as well to continue talking about the importance of Keystones. I think we've heard a number of times things were brought up about, what is Pleasant Valley doing for their students? How are we, within our county competing within the state, within the nation, things like that. So last time I think I focused on a lot of data and there were a lot of charts and things like that. So I wanted to reel it back a little bit. And if you could please, thank you. Let's just start talking about who are Keystones important to, okay? And so tonight I'm going to talk about the students, the teachers, and the community. So we've spent a little bit more time talking about the students, so I'll just provide a quick refresher on that. And then I'll go into these different points about how they're important for teachers as well as all of our community members. So hopefully in the end, we can all see that Keystones are important for all of us. Okay, so just a refresher, this is a slide similar to what I had shown before. When we talk about those pathways to graduation that are a state graduation requirement, 2 of those pathways can be met simply by a form of Keystone proficiency. Ideally, we want our students reaching proficient scores on all 3 exams. That would be pathway 1. However, pathway 2 is also available to the students and counts as a Keystone proficiency pathway. It allows them to reach a sum total of the scores. So maybe one might be proficient, the other one might be just under proficient, and the third one somewhere in between. But across the 3 tests altogether, it reaches this magic number, which is 4452. It's just the number they come up with. And then they say that is a composite pathway. And we actually have a number of students who are able to achieve through that composite pathway when they cannot reach pathway 1. So again, just want to note that of the 5 pathways, 2 of them are met by Keystone exams, which are an expectation, something that we prepare our students for all year long, something that's built into our schedule, that we provide accommodations for our cyber students for, our MCTI students, they're being tested, if they're 9th grade, they're being tested at MCTI. If they're AM or PM, we're working with MCTI and they understand the importance of that scheduling. So this is something that they're already doing in order to achieve towards that graduation pathway. Additional pathways, if you recall, they have to take another type of assessment. For example, they would have to take the SAT or the PSAT or the ASVAB test, or they would have to get a 4-year college acceptance letter, things like that. And when we talk about these graduation pathways, we are looking for our students to achieve these pathways by the end of their junior year. And that was something we were working really hard. We had a number of seniors that were starting off, 24, 25 year, and they still didn't have a pathway. And then it was sort of a bit of a scramble to try and figure that out. But for the state and for the accountability purposes, we're really looking for them to reach that pathway by the end of junior year. We have our students testing and retesting primarily in the freshman and sophomore years, with an additional year for junior year if we need to do any sort of remediation and retesting beyond that. So plenty of time to work towards those 2 pathways. So that's the student piece. But we also want to talk about teachers, okay? It is important to teachers to have our students participate and to do well on these Keystone exams. And so what I have here, if you look, I know there's 2 pie charts. I'm going to explain this in a second here. The pie chart on the left, this is coming from TDE. This is the breakdown for a data available classroom teacher for how they are evaluated during the year. Okay, 70% comes from that observation and practice, so like formal observation, walkthroughs, anecdotal notes when they get that. Then they have the teacher-specific data, building level score, and the LEA selected measure. The LEA selected measure is the student performance measure. It's called an SPM, and it is something that all teachers hold their students to, and they do like a pre-post measure of growth. But let's focus on that building level score there. It is 10%. What is in that building level score? Well, that's what I've done. I've taken that 10% and I've broken it down, and there are 4 parts to it. All 4 parts are dealing with our students' achievement and their growth as well. So when we look at the Keystone performance, that is going to be specifically based on our percentage of proficient and advanced students. Closing the achievement gap is really looking at a growth measure for what we're doing with our historically underserved populations, ELL, IEP students, as well as lower SES students. So that's a growth factor. Academic growth factor is specifically PBOS, that is looking just at the Keystone exam scores and how much we move the students from one year to the next. And then finally, those academic factors, attendance rate, graduation rate are the top 2 in there. So in a nutshell, when we look at how we evaluate teachers, 10% of their evaluation is the building score factor. And of that building score factor, all of these pieces, deal with standardized participation and performance. And then the community also should see that these Keystone exams are important. When we talk about what traditionally was called the district report card, now we have the PA Future Ready Index. Here I've just given a quick snapshot. You will see that this is available publicly to anyone. You just sign on to PA Future Ready, you look up our high school, and you will have these fast facts as well as these performance measures. So what are we going to have listed here? We're going to have listed our test scores, both achievement and growth scores, which are two different kinds of things, our graduation rates, our attendance rates, the career standard benchmarks, how are we doing with those? And also all of the data for post-secondary transitions. So you can see when people are asking in the community, how's Pleasant Valley doing? This is the main source of data, and one of those very important data points are our test scores. So I did put a little bit of data together because I was trying to look at what we've done from 24 to 25. So class of 25, they just finished graduating. I looked at this same data from the class of 24, and just in 1 year of applying some small changes in expectations, we have some really encouraging numbers. So we see 74.15% of seniors attempted all 3 Keystones. That's gone up from 69%. And then we identified our 2 subgroups. We've got PBBA seniors. We went up to 60% who attempted all 3 Keystones compared to 42% from the first year. That's a really nice jump there. And then also we saw 63% of students with IEPs attempting all 3 Keystones, an increase from 41. And then on this, we also have 18%, which is about 48 students for the class, that did not take any Keystone exam. And what's important is this number is down from last year where it was at 22%. I provided a similar pie chart last time, so I thought I should update you. This data is not verified, by the way. We will be verifying it with FRCPP when we put our graduation report in officially in October. But just from the data that I've collected, you'll see here our graduation pathway breakdown. Keystone proficiency really didn't change that much from 23-24 to 24-25. We're about the same. We did see quite a jump in the alternative pathway, and just, kind of brainstorming some ideas. We had quite a few more instant decision days, where we had, I believe it was Keystone, ESU, and I think there might have been one other college. They came and they did an instant decision day. And so a lot of students were able to get their 4-year college acceptance from that as well. I do know that the non-grad pie slice there kind of looks rather large. So I did some data digging because I thought that might be a question. A large percentage of those non-graduates are coming from students that are returning as a result of being an IEP student and having the ability to return after their 4 years. So they can come back for a 5th year, a 6th year, according to what's in their IEP based on their age. So then just looking at the data on the side there, trying to pull out some important stats. Like I said, the proficiency in Keystones was roughly the same from 1 year to the next. We did see 12 students were proficient on 1 or more exam, but never took all 3. That number went down, and that is actually a good thing because I think it went down because the number below it went up. And that was that we got more students attempting all 3 exams. So we had 84 students who attempted all 3 Keystones, even though they didn't reach pathway 1 or 2, because obviously those 188 students sitting there in that blue did attempt all 3 in order to have that. But so attempting it, even though they didn't reach the proficiency, that went up from 69 to 84. So what we're trying to show you is all of the numbers for participation are going in the right directions. The not so great things are going down and the good things are coming up. Okay. So just again to reiterate here, improving instruction, setting appropriate rigor expectations. These are all things that are happening in the classrooms as a result of aligning to these Keystone standards. That is for all students. being able to provide 2 potential pathways towards their state graduation requirements. That is available for all students. The fact that the scores on these Keystone exams are contributing to the ratings is happening for all of our classroom teachers. And what is being dictated by the school report card and how it informs the path of the way that our district is continually improving, that is going to benefit all community members. So what are we trying to say? Participation in the Keystone exam, that's everyone's responsibility. So what we're looking for is we're looking for your support. We're looking for you to help in spreading the message about the importance of the Keystones. Please communicate that to all of the stakeholders. Help us when we are promoting school-wide initiatives and trying to increase that participation and get that number up. And we have a goal, and we are lofty in it, but that's what it's gonna be. The state is saying 95% participation rate is what they expect. Otherwise, they want you to work on an improvement plan. We're going for 100. So we would like you to share our expectation and celebrate our success as we continue to show data moving us towards that 100% participation rate. And that's really the purpose of my presentation. Any questions?
Yeah, a couple, two. One, you talk about this attempt went up to 69 to 74%. What did we as a district do different that now these kids, more kids are taking this test?
Great question. I was pretty aggressive as a school assessment coordinator in making sure that I was personalizing a lot of contacts. So we had an excessive number of Connect Ed messages going out. Every student, whether they were being tested or not tested, was sent a letter saying, here's what your testing status is. If you need to test, this is when we're scheduling you. If you don't need to test, congratulations, thanks for your participation. We also looked at a lot of kids, I would say that were sort of like, I'm gonna call them bubble kids, you know, where I'm looking at the fact that they've participated, yes, they've met the participation requirement, but man, they're only like 20 points away from getting that composite pathway. Let me come talk to them. And so I was actually pulling a large number of students in. I was showing them their data. I was showing them, so they're becoming more literate in the Keystone language. I think that was a big part of it. A lot of students were like, oh, I can do that, that's easy. And we did see a number of students reach that proficiency pathway as a result of reassessing in their senior year.
So we're not doing anything as far as saying, okay, if you don't take these Keystone exams, you can't walk to graduation, you can't play sports, or
Nope.
something like that.
No, I do remember we proposed that as a potential idea to incentivize participation, but we did not put that into action. We wanted to see if we could kind of
Do the personal way.
Yep, be more personal and just increase communication was one of the main goals. I also held a Keystone Parent Info session. We did have low attendance in person, but I did take and I recorded that Keystone Info session and I posted it online as well. So that's a resource. Also, there are parents that want to opt out their students, and I took a more personalized approach with that as well. And I was able to have a conversation and sort of find out the root cause for what they were concerned with. And whatever their cause was, I just made sure that they were well informed. And after becoming well informed, there were a few parents who decided to let their child participate anyway.
So once again, communication is what's, yeah, okay. Another question is, you said that you test as freshmen or sophomores, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what material are you testing? What they learned from kindergarten up to 8th grade then?
Great
Is that what that-
question. Yeah. So the Keystone exams are called end of course exams, which means it is just for what they learn in that year of school. So PSSAs before that would cover more than 1 year. But a Keystone exam, Algebra 1, a 9th grade student, what they learn from August until they take the test in May is what they are being tested on. So it is just from that year.
So they take all 3 of those tests as freshmen, and in their scheduling, they're able to take those classes and then.
Yes, so traditionally, most 9th graders take algebra and biology as freshmen. And then the literature course is our English 10 course. It's a
So
sophomore
they
year
take two as a
level.
freshman and then the other one that, and then they have the junior and senior year to retake those tests that they need.
Yes, this past year, we did test a number of seniors because we're sort of trying to triage the situation of the number of students that did not participate initially as freshmen and sophomores. Our goal ultimately is to not test any seniors because we have exhausted the reassessment process by the end of their junior year.
Plus they run those in family.
Well, that too.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Sure.
No, it was a good presentation. I thank you for taking our feedback for the last conversation that we had, and we've done with it. It's an awesome job. Thank you.
So what's your next steps? Just to continue doing
Yeah,
the things?
Yeah, so next steps, I think, I've had these individualized conversations. Those conversations need to start spreading, you know, so, in sitting with parents, they're sort of like, oh, I didn't understand that, or I heard other information. And it's like, well, that's why I'm sitting here talking to you about this. I'm definitely going to hold more of those Keystone information sessions. And we're also using our teachers and our trigger courses to work with the students to inform them about the importance of Keystones and to keep the Keystones sort of in the forefront. Why are we doing this? We are educating you, but we are choosing this objective because it is aligned to a highly rigorous curriculum that then also prepares you for this Keystone exam. So we're continuing with those communication fronts. I also want to survey. I want to get a little bit better feel for the cyber population. What can I do to connect with more of them? We provided transportation if they requested it. Very few actually took advantage of that, and I'm just wondering if we need to be more assertive in that kind of communication, maybe going one at a time. I was also told to enlist the help of the cyber counselors and the cyber academy in general. They said they would partner with me on that. And we're also considering different kinds of incentives. So I sent out a letter to 141 juniors last year who had received their graduation pathway by the end of their junior year. That should not just be celebrated with a pat on the back. You know, maybe we can do something to say, that was what was expected of you. We're really glad that you put that as a priority. You know, let's have a breakfast for you, or let's, you know, we're looking for ideas to incentivize more.
When do the students first hear about Keystone? These exams?
That's a
And the
great
parents.
question. I would say,
Absolutely right.
I would say
Maybe
at
we
the
need to start a
beginning,
little earlier.
at the beginning of their Keystone course in August. I know as a teacher, that was something that I always did for my Keystone course. It's something we're expecting of our Keystone course teachers. But we're also, you know, as we are getting better at utilizing data in this district, as the next presentation will show you, we're also making sure that ownership of that data is across all content areas. So we want these conversations happening in social studies classrooms, in art classrooms, because, you know, a lot of the skills they're working on are also going to apply to their performance on the Keystone exam. So if we start making, you know, the conversation more ubiquitous, then I think that's also going to help. If we can get something in middle school, you know, and start talking about that to prep them, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll echo what Mr. Oki said. Great presentation.
I got a question here. This is gonna go, it's gonna start here, but go bigger. So you had mentioned on one slide here that the data that comes back on the Keystone is reflected back then on the teacher through the teacher effectiveness model through a building score.
Yes.
How do I as a teacher get assigned a score, a building score?
So it is through a combination of calculations that make up that pie chart. So being a member of the teaching population in this building, you are already assigned that building score. If you are also a Keystone course teacher, well then you have a roster of students that you have directly affected with the Keystone curriculum. That's where your teacher-specific data is going to come in.
And is that being accounted for in their performance evaluation? Is that?
kind of what you're
Yes,
asking.
yes,
Yeah.
this pie chart on the left here is everything that goes into the final 13-1 rating for a teacher.
So how does that, so if you have all your classes where your kids are, we said, a sophomore or a freshman, and that's all you have, and these kids are being tested, I teach seniors, and I don't have anything to do with Keystone, how is this equitable between how we're being evaluated from a book? And this, again, this is gonna go bigger here, but how does this factor in?
I think it is a really valid question. It goes back to the ownership, like we all own that data. A lot of times, even though students are testing at the end of course in 9th or 10th grade, we're still seeing many students in need of remediation and reassessment. Well, that remediation and reassessment is happening after they finish that Keystone course. So now that is coming on teachers of the following year. So senior year is most definitely the most removed, but we are communicating with our teachers that this is all of our data. We are all sharing these students. We own all of this together. And therefore, when you think about the scores that students are getting, you have the ability to affect them through the courses that you have when they are going to be remediating and reassessing at a later date.
Yeah, I think it ties in though to, so I understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying, but I think it ties into a performance kind of management. It's really related to performance management. If that's the model that we're using, and that 10% is not applicable to 90% of the teachers, like directly applicable, they're missing 10% of their scoring element.
Like phys ed, music and stuff like that, that all, even those teachers are involved with something.
They are, and just to provide some further clarification, so the 10% that's, and this is delineated by PDE under the 13.1 and some of the acts and regs that have changed. It actually comes from assessment, okay, which is a part of that breakdown, growth, attendance rates, and that's applicable to the professional employee. So yes, there are some factors that might not be directly applicable to a teacher of a specific content. But again, I think that's where PDE has kind of that universal outlook to say, we have, let's say, 90 teachers in the high school. And although only 12 of them are responsible for like the math, scores as a direct result, you can't negate the fact that there are 70 other teachers that have to create that safe environment, focus in on making connections to increase, let's say, attendance, to instill upon our students how important testing is and giving your best performance. And I think the physical education teacher, somebody talking about like, hey, here's measurements, here's data, here's, your 40-yard run, right? So, but at the same time, is there growth, right? What was it last spring? What is it this spring? So even though you might not have a direct impact on, that particular content, I truly believe that it does take that village of educators to say, we as a group want to keep kids safe. We want to increase connectivity to our students. We want to increase their attendance rates. And by doing all of those things, we will see academic achievement improve. So I think it is, larger than just a content area, right? And I think that that's something that we're really trying to communicate with our staff is the importance of us all, having that same message, not only coming from the ELA teacher that, yes, it's important in 10th grade at the end of the course to do really well in the ELA Keystones, but that the social studies teacher, that the phys ed teacher, that the counselor, that the nurse is saying, hey, get a good night's sleep. You're going to really need it because you want to be able to perform at your top level. So I think that those are all the factors that we have to really, consider. And the reality is this is something that is in place, whether we agree with it or not, on different levels, it's there. So I think, what Amber's trying to say too, is that like, regardless of whether or not you agree or disagree, unless you're going to the state and enacting that change, it's going to remain that way. So let's embrace what we can do as a group in that building to positively influence that, because at the end of the day, and Amber's absolutely right, and I appreciate how you kind of categorize that for this, how does this impact the students, right? First and foremost in the different pathways, but how does it impact staff, right? For the building level score, but then also community. Because again, you have different levels of data that we're synthesizing to say, yes, future PA ready index, has X level. You take something like niche, right? That takes basically people randomly giving scores to random things. Is there really some validity to it? Maybe, maybe not. Is it more opinion based than fact based and numerical based? Of course. So we have to be very mindful of the source that we're using. I would probably trust, World News Report's, list of top high schools as opposed to something that's arbitrary that, somebody is just putting feedback in. So again, you have to know the source that you're pulling from. But the reality is we're pulling from PDE. Like, this is a non-negotiable source. But I will say this, if you don't mind kind of just going on too, I really want to appreciate, and I want to thank, and I think it's important, with the efforts of obviously Amber in the high school, obviously, Brian, Ariella, we have John and Bernie here tonight too. And the reality is that we've taken all the feedback from the board. And again, we had a really good discussion in the spring, right? The goal isn't to ever be punitive to our kids ever, but we have to figure out ways to make it meaningful. And it can't just be Amber talking to kids. It has to be the counselors and the teachers and the board and the community and the parents. So this is kind of where we're trying to get that holistic approach to say, guys, this matters. And it matters because we want our kids to show how smart they are, but there's only one way you can do that. And it's very easy to write it off and say, well, I'm already smart, I don't have to do it. No, show us how smart you are. Let's prove it. Let's celebrate it. Let's, have that personal touch that I think is important. So I appreciate you doing that. Again, look at the jumps that we've seen. So we're going to continue to work on that. I got some good things for us to add, for maybe some end of year 8th grade parent meetings and groups that we're talking to students that are coming over in 8th grade in the spring to say, hey, you're going to be a 9th grader and this is what you're going to be doing. And here's when you get that course list in the middle of the year and what classes you're taking, just remember that, you have 1 year to really hone in on that algebra skills because you're going to be assessed and then you're going to be reassessed if you don't perform well. So a lot of really good stuff in this. I appreciate the information and I think we're moving in the right direction.
So that 10%, I mean, just because it's really a question of clarity, that 10%, like for me, that 10% is for every teacher, whether they're teaching a Keystone course or not.
Actually, every teacher, right? Every professional staff member, so actually the nurses,
right?
In fact.
So if the building scores poorly, it impacts everyone. Absolutely. If the building scores well, it impacts everyone.
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
But just to go, and I just would like to, I don't know how this could be done, but we're in the process of getting a bunch of new staff members. So if we're bringing, let's just generalize, a bunch of new staff members that it's their first years of teaching and stuff like that, are we almost going to see kind of a decrease in our scores because possibly they're not all up to speed right away? I mean, it's just a generic question. It's not like we're pointing at, but it's like, okay, we lost, 4 biology teachers and now they're brand new and now we're testing biology. So those 4 new are affecting 90% of the teachers. It's like, wow.
I think it could be.
It's a retort. I mean, it's not unexpected answer. It's just
I think we look at it different ways. I mean, again, are they bringing the value right from the gate, or was their value lost as people were exiting? I mean, we have to be mindful of. But here's the thing, and that's a really good point, John.
Is it affecting our scores?
Right.
I mean, just for that.
But given that stamp of time, what I'm hopeful for is that with 25, 26, and like I said, we have 22 new teachers in the district. This is really where we have to get those veteran teachers to really sit down with those newer teachers to say, hey, here's some of our data. Here's some of the things that are really having a positive impact, right? We're talking about like SATs and like the heart of algebra as a major focus of the SATs. Well, if you're not focusing on algebra, you're never going to do well in the SAT. So my point being that like if there's certain elements that we can get a veteran teacher that's been here for a long time, and then obviously, a newer teacher to come together at those curriculum meetings and, have time for planning, it's going to have a positive outcome regardless, because there's nothing to say that the new teacher who had some different ways of educating, it can bring some of those fresh ideas to someone. So a lot can be learned from veteran, a lot can be learned from new. So my point is that collaboration and focus on curriculum and content is going to be really the most critical mass piece that we have to focus in on. So
I do have one more question for you, and this, it's okay if you don't have an answer right now because it's completely theoretical. Are you seeing a decline, because there's lots of schools now that aren't requiring standardized testing for entry. Are you seeing a decline in participation in the SAT rates? And do you, the percentage of people taking the test, and do you think that that will negatively impact the willingness to participate in other standardized testing?
The SAT scores are something that's handled by the guidance department. That's not something that I coordinate as a school assessment coordinator, but those, I can get that data for you.
Yeah, I'm just curious if it is a smaller percentage actually taking it,
Right.
and if they are, is that do you feel that negative impact in the high school assessments? That's all.
Yeah, I don't know the
Okay.
numbers on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amber.
Thanks.
And WEA.
Good evening. So Bernie and I just want to kind of update you some of the learning aspects of the Fusion conference that we attended here. And was it? This working or no? I think so. Oh, there you go.
So this isn't attached. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I was looking for it. Is it attached?
No.
No.
No. Okay.
Just the bill.
It's okay.
Just the bill.
It's just the bill. Okay.
Yeah. For some of these presentations, we'll have them attached after tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
But one of the conference sessions that we attended down there was utilizing RIT scores for Algebra 1 readiness. And this actually really obviously hit hard going down there because part of our comprehensive plan is increasing STEM-related classing fields and getting those kids involved there. So when we take a look at Algebra 1 readiness, we realize that as we move kids into more of those advanced math classes, that's also going to open that gateway there for STEM-related courses that we offer and what we're trying to move towards in the future here. So using this here, right now, we actually find out, and I've been working with Tim here, we're currently missing some of the students that could be prepared for taking some of those advanced classes, Algebra 1, say, in 8th grade, based on some of the state scores, recommendations, and final grades. Because there are many factors that come into play, as we know, with Keystones, PSSAs, right? We're trying to increase that participation rate and how well they do on it. So some of those kids are missing. So learning from the conference down there with this specific and some of the schools and how they're using this this cut score that's found using the RIT, we're able to look at increasing some of our numbers in Algebra 1. So over the past couple of weeks, Tim and I have looked at the spring scores that we took as a pilot and actually got some good data there. And we're actually, last year we had one algebra class in 8th grade, and we're increasing it to 2 classes this year. And through looking at that RIT score and also conversations with the parents, making sure that the parents are aware that we're using this this score here to kind of suggest that we should move these kids in there. We've increased our numbers right now to two classes, which is awesome.
So Jonathan, what does the RIT stand for? The RIT?
The Rosh unit, which is a calculation that they use based on standardizing of questions and a score.
Say it again.
A Rosh unit, it's RAU, I believe CH or SCH. I don't know off the top of my head, sorry.
It's okay. I didn't know if R stood for something and I and then T. Okay.
And then, so our goal here, though, for it to be meaningful, we need to make sure that we're monitoring yearly, because that fluctuation from your fall testing to your winter testing is actually going to be different. And this is going to lead into kind of my next slide, which is analyzing some of that map growth there and having those data chat conversations with our students and the teachers and owning that data there. What do we need to move our kids to that next level of a RIT score kind of breakdown? Because it kind of blocks itself off depending on if you're, kind of correlates with like basic and proficiency and advanced. So how can we move those kids, and what kind of supports can we provide through WIN or our ROAR or, Bear period, depending on the grade level. But here, obviously, with WIN specifically for algebra. Like I said, with goals moving forward here, we need to monitor it yearly as we progress and see if there's any adjustments that we need. Do we need to adjust that grit score, make it a little bit higher? Do we need to make it less? It's, like I said, it's also going to provide that instructional support there. And we are going to use it to identify our students that are on track. And they didn't focus on ELA or science down there, but I've had some conversations through networking that there are districts that are using it for ELA and science as well. Another session here was analyzing map growth data here. And once again, this goes back to our state testing here in general, is owning that data and reflecting on it. We need to make sure that we have that time built in to actually take a look at that data. And we do have that coming up in September after I think September 2nd, we're having PD on it, how to actually analyze that data and start to own it and start having those conversations after we take that preliminary diagnostic test here. And with owning that data and reflecting, it's making sure that we have testing consistencies across the board. We need to make sure that we are narrowing down that average testing time, because they suggest about 45 minutes. And last year in spring, we had some students taking about 4 days. And it might be a 35-minute block, but you're looking at, over 100 minutes, 120 minutes. So that's a lot. And based on what they're suggesting, we need to make sure that we are providing that consistency. We also need to look at students that are rapid guessing. This assessment here, you get false data when a student is rapidly guessing, because there has an opportunity to select the correct answer. And so the purpose of these tests, as you'll kind of see, is what those students don't know. We already know students know a great deal, but what don't they know? And that's why they want to limit that time to 45 minutes, so they're not spending the time to calculate everything out. What do they know within that time frame? And that's important, once again, with that testing consistency. And so an example here is using that map data to accelerate placement. So I just focused here on elementary. It's not just at the middle school or the high school level or intermediate level. It can be done at the elementary level here, and look at those students that are pulling away from that pack and actually then looking at where they are and having those conversations to move them forward. When we look at grouping and clustering and that next level that they go to, where do they belong, and providing those supports in that core instruction to keep that advancement moving. But also looking at the effectiveness of our instruction. Are we providing that necessary support? Is our core instruction providing for our students to meet what we are setting goals for? And so, and this ties into how are we doing this forward? Having those student and teacher data chats. We want to make sure that our students are owning it, our teachers are owning it, our staff, administration, everyone is owning it. So having those conversations and making sure that they are reflecting on where they're at, setting those goals in the beginning after those students take the test. Do we think we're going to have Billy move up by 2 RIT points, or by 3, or by 10? And what is manageable for those students and goals that they can set? And if they don't make it, how do we reflect? How do we move forward using some of those instructional strategies? And then once again, always identifying students that are on track from fall and winter, because our final test will be right before the PSSAs and Keystone. So we want to make sure that they can provide those instructional shifts needed to help those students succeed on their state testing. Another thing here is understanding that RIT score and how they actually developed some of those questions, which was kind of really interesting to hear about down there. So no 2 students are going to take the same test. They have about 40-some thousand questions in their database bank. So that's really kind of neat. And it's going to adapt in real time based on how well do they answer that question correct, or do they get it wrong? And it's going to adjust based on that. You'll see on one of the slides kind of how it narrows down. So they get that they shrink down that standard error measure for that student so that they're actually getting an accurate reading of what that student doesn't know and what the student knows. And each question, for it to be put in a bank and be part of that RIT score process, there is a very timely and strenuous item calibration. So each test always has 1 to 3 field tested questions. So that's why you see there could be anywhere from 40 to 43 questions, depending on how that student is giving that test at that time, which is random. But what it does is they analyze all the data from those field test questions, and they estimate how many students that actually just guess on that question. And there's a threshold there. So there's a minimum of 1,000 students for it to kind of analyze. If it doesn't get populated into those to that student for that, beginning of assessment or middle or end, then it's not going to go through that process. So it has to have at least a minimum of 1,000 students actually taking that question. And what they do is they examine that data. Does it fit in a RIT score based on similar questions that are associated? So they may add it to the bank. They might put it back to their engineering team. They might modify it and then calibrate it again and retest it. So this is an ongoing monitoring system that they constantly do for all these questions. They will even take previous questions and they will go through a monitoring process. Does it still fit with current trends as it progresses forward every year? And so, and that's why when you take a look at the RIT scores, they are stable over time, and that's how we can track that growth from kindergarten to 12th grade. Or if we're looking for, specifically science, we're looking at kindergarten to ninth grade or 10th grade if they're taking it, depending on the year. So a little bit back on that, and then also, I didn't break it. There it goes. So this is where I was saying that standard error measure is going to shrink as they take those questions here. So on that chart there, as they progress through those questions that they take, their RIT score is going to adjust. So if it's green, they get it correct, then that question gets a little bit harder. And then if they get it wrong, it decreases. And eventually, once you hit, and not only goes to 20, but you would narrow, if you continue out to about 40 to 43 questions, that standard error measure is going to be reduced to about 2 RIT points on each side. And that's what we're looking for, because now we really know what the kids don't know. And that then drives the instructional practices of what our teachers are going to provide that student moving forward. And so tests are tailored to those students because they use the previous scores. And that's really important that we got the opportunity, one, to test it out to make sure that our staff was okay with it, and our students as well in the spring. So we actually have data, which if we wouldn't have done that, we wouldn't have a starting point. So it's actually really good. One, it helps with our algebra readiness and increase our class section, but also now we have data there that we can actually go off of. And so remember there that the tests are designed that students are only going to get about 50% of those questions right, the way it narrows it down. Okay, they're not going to get 100% right. And there's always about 40 to 43 questions there. And now I'll turn it over to.
Okay, so one of the sessions that I really enjoyed and that I thought was really important to a lot of our teachers was called Where's My Data? And this ties directly into what we were just talking about with the teachers who are like 90% of the teachers not directly affected by state testing scores, but they're affected by building scores that have test scores factored into them. This session was specifically about supporting secondary students in social studies and electives with the Math Growth Test. Although, if you look down at the bottom, this strategy can be extended to our intermediate level and even in the special areas at our elementary level to some extent as well. This is basically focused on how the Math Growth data can be leveraged outside of those core testing courses. By June of this year, we had provided the opportunity for every one of our teachers in the district to get trained in what the math growth tests are, how to give them, just in case they were covering class where they had to actually administer a test, and also where to find the data and what it looks like as just the brief introduction that the core teachers got in March. And what this session focused on was using data evidence student-driven decisions in content literacy. So I'm not going to repeat our entire discussion of teachers in other content areas, in electives, taking ownership of student test scores, but this is where that ties in, where if you're teaching a social studies class, if you're teaching a music class, and you're giving the kids something to read, maybe they're going to write a response to it, maybe you want them to just have that information to increase their knowledge in that subject area. Whatever the goal is, some students who are struggling with reading maybe won't understand that. Maybe some kids who need an extra challenge aren't really going to be that interested in that reading because it's below the level where they're reading. Using the math growth data will help teachers to identify an appropriate reading level. So one of the strategies that can be used for this is differentiating text sets, going by the same topic, but different, possibly different genres, different lengths of text, different types of text to meet students' individual needs. So if the goal is content, everybody will be able to understand, everybody will get properly challenged in the way that they need to be. And then that also puts all of the teachers on board with these test scores are affecting my score as a teacher, my final evaluation. So yes, we're going to do a little reading in my classroom, and I'm going to support content literacy, which is ultimately literacy, because students should get used to reading text about a variety of topics. Because when they take the Keystones, or even in the lower grades when they take the PSSAs, those passages are about a variety of things. They could be about art, they could be about music, they could be about history or science. So we should be reading in all subject areas. And so this will help our teachers to get started with that. And a lot of teachers are already doing that. So this will also help them. One of the things I have up there too that ties in with technology is that reading levels can be adjusted so that you're reading the exact same piece, but the Lexile level or the vocabulary level, more specifically, is adjusted for what the student can follow. So it can provide an extra challenge for students who need that. It can also scale down vocabulary so that all students have access to the content information that they need to read about. In math, scores can be used to gauge where a student is having difficulty. So for example, in an industrial tech class, a student might be struggling to get a project to come out right. It could be because they're struggling with measurement. And if we're looking at their math growth scores, we can identify that. So yeah.
It's time to go to home.
Yeah, sorry. There you go, sorry about that.
Likewise, the math and ELA can be used in conjunction with each other. So in math class, there are problems that are written. They're like word problems. Some students will struggle with those because of their reading level. So in that way, we can start working toward getting kids what they need and provide the proper supports. There were several sessions that I went to that I thought were all really great. So this kind of pulls the information from them. There were a lot of sessions that were basically, we're from this school in this state, and this is how our first year went. This is what we took away from it, or we've been using this for a really long time. And this is all of our knowledge that we're offering to you. And these sessions were run by faculty and or administrators from schools all around the country. I was at one where there were people from right there in a parish neighboring to New Orleans. And I went to one where the school was from Alaska. So wide variety of different types of schools that were offering their insight. One of the first things, I won't reiterate everything that John said about the time, but sticking to those 45 minutes. And this might be really, really hard. This is an entire mind shift about how to look at this test. We've been looking at tests, even tests like the iReady test and our STAR test that we've done in the past for ELA, as a demonstration of mastery. Math growth is not supposed to be a demonstration of mastery, which is going to be hard for the teachers and it's going to be hard for the students. This is supposed to be identifying what students still need to work on. So when we're talking about sticking to that time, and John touched on this a little bit too, a student who's struggling even for like 5 minutes on a math problem or going back to reread a passage several times to answer an ELA question, they have not mastered that skill. We can't let them struggle over it till they get the right answer. They might get the right answer, but that's actually going to be false information for us because they haven't mastered that skill and they do still need to work on it. So they do need to get that rapid response, not rapid guessing, but they need to answer the questions that they can answer correctly, quickly, in that allotted time frame to give us our most accurate data so that we can give them what they need. John also talked about the RIT scores maybe being different for different students. So for example, we might be looking at math growth in an ELA class and we might look at John's results and it's like, wow, John has the ability to move up maybe 10 to 15 points by the time we give this test again. So that's going to be his goal. But maybe Amber probably can only move up 2 to 5 points. So we're going to put her goal somewhere in there. That's also a mind shift for how teachers are setting their own goals possibly. Because we used to do this by a whole class where, Miss Viero's class is all going to move up 15% by the end of the year. We need to individualize this, and so the goals should really be targeted to the individual students. That might translate into a whole class goal, but that shouldn't be our primary focus if we really want to be using this how it's intended. One of the things that the schools all said was we also have to build a data culture. And Amber touched on this in her presentation as well. Having data chats with students, looking at data and using data for planning a habit, not just on Act 80 days, but a daily, a weekly, a monthly habit for short-term and long-term planning with our lessons and unit preparation. It needs to be an integral part of parent conferences, professional conversations, and our professional learning. And then they also stressed continually supporting and implementation through targeted professional development, continually gathering teacher feedback. What are they struggling over? What are they having a hard time with? What do they need? What are the things that NWEA recommends as things that they do? We have professional development plans for September and also for February, as was recommended in the beginning. September's would be, now we have data, let's spend some time learning how to interpret it. And then in February, we'll have given the second round. Now we have 2 data points. How do we use those to make predictions for state test scores? But in addition to that, we've already planned a refresher session for next week, for when our teachers come back, because we did our training in March and June. So we are kind of trying to gauge how we should be planning things, and we are going to get that continual feedback because it is that continual support that's going to ensure success with this. Looking ahead, they do hold Fusion every single year. Next year it is in Orlando, and we are looking to send a team of teacher leaders to next year's conference so that we can start having teachers who are attending sessions becoming more knowledgeable and can come back and share the wealth. We did originally, last time we were here, have a tentative testing schedule up. And we adjusted that a little bit, based on, when we went back over our notes for this, some realizations that we really need a wider window between the tests. Originally, if we were going to give our second round in late January, early February, just before we had the final, as of now, scheduled PD session, then our gap to the next one would have only been maybe 4 to 6 weeks, which is not enough time at all. And there would have been a huge gap between that first and second window, September to January or February. So we adjusted the second window into December, and the third one to March. And of course, these are tentative. As we move through the year, we may realize that there's something we can pinpoint that will be a better fit. But that's what we're shooting for right now. And I know that the next slide is probably the end, but I did want to give one update. Earlier this week, John and I both attended a webinar from NWEA with some very important norm updates. And it was too late to stick any of it in the presentation. I just today got a copy of what they did. But we can always share that at a later date. One of the things with the scoring and with the question pools has been improved upon. They used to take difficulty level of the questions first. John explained how they kind of field the questions and adjust to where the student is for difficulty level. And then the questions would come from a wide range of grade levels based on the difficulty. And now what it does is it will first take all the questions at the student's level of difficulty or level of challenge from their grade level, so that we really are getting a much, much more accurate picture of where that student is according to where they should be and what they need to know. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
So, for in-service, you said you're going to do a refresher,
Yes.
correct? The data that, or the information that you gained from attending this conference, is anything being incorporated into that?
Into the
The
refresher.
in-service? Yes, sorry, I'm getting tired, I think.
We'll certainly be available, and all the administrators who attended would be available for questions. But the refresher is really designed to be a navigation thing because, of course, as seems to be our luck, the platform doesn't look exactly the same as it did
Oh,
last spring.
And we have, 22 new teachers, so we want to make sure that they're getting exposed to, what they need to do and help learn some of that setup process.
And interestingly, 4 of those teachers actually have previously used NWEA in their prior districts. So again, having that infusion of some new faces to then something that I think is going to be really important is going to be very helpful. I think the other thing too, Sue, just to maybe answer that as well is, and I synthesized some of the notes that I had taken and share them with you. Do you have a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so when do you plan, like Sue asked, when do you plan on doing this? You just said you can't because of that, so when do you plan implementing what you learned at the?
Well, not that we can't,
Yeah.
but we just haven't addressed it yet. I think that because this is gonna be whole faculty and we have it set up for 90 minutes, beginning of the year is a little hectic. It would be a lot more beneficial, I think, if we're using department time and working closely with departments, faculty meeting time, where we have smaller groups, to really get what the teachers are needing and what information pertains to them. Because information that goes to like the math teachers, the science teachers will be different from what ELA and the electives, social studies teachers would need to know about.
Yeah.
Because they would all be using this in a different way.
And I think because it's a new endeavor, I think there's two strands that we need to focus on. One is kind of that visionary expectation of NWEA, and then one is the mechanical side of things of like, what do I do? How do I get to the reports, right? And as with anything new, and you think back to Power School when we transitioned over, it takes a little bit of time to get acclimated to it. I did want to point out a couple of things that were really some of my key takeaways, and I know we've talked a lot about this, and I think it's important for our parents, for our students, and also for our staff to really understand, NWEA data is intended to inform, not blame, right? I think oftentimes, when we look at student achievement data and we say, oh, Pleasant Valley hasn't met our targeted goals, well, everyone starts pointing the finger. The board, it must be a superintendent, it must be the teachers. How about this? How about we all acknowledge the fact that we need to take stock in where are we? What are some of the gaps? Are the gaps that we have started the school past couple of years, maybe without teachers? Maybe we're not paying high enough salary to attract teachers. There's 15 different things that I think we need to be mindful of. My point being is that we have this, group of students, and we really need to, in my opinion, be a little bit better to work together to address some of these things rather than to point the blame, because it's very easy to blame things without, trying to fix the problem. The other thing too, I think this was really important, is again, that not only that information, but having the data is not the same as using it effectively. And I say that because, we say sometimes that we're very data rich. I can interpret the Future Ready PA Index or Keystone scores. Really? Because what is it telling you that we should be doing? And I think where we as a district need to go is having those in-depth conversations, as we've done with like our ELA curriculum, to say, hey, there are some gaps. And there's evidence to show that we need to focus in on these particular areas, and where do we find the time to do that, right? So I think, having the data is again, differently than using it effectively. And one thing that they kept on saying at the conference was the goal using data is to illuminate, not intimidate. And again, I think too often we're so quick to say, we didn't have this number of kids coming out for, sports, and, there must be a failure of the coach. Is it really now? Because I'm pretty sure there's other influencers, whether it's transportation, academics, there's 15 other things that are going on. We just need to be mindful of that. The other thing too, and this was a big piece for me, was that data is going to help us to really personalize learning. But in order to do that, we have to pull our own data. We have to use the data and really have to have hard conversations about, what's working, what's not working. And the I part of this is really important. What am I going to do about it? So the board, you have an expectation of the superintendent. What am I as superintendent going to do about it? Then what is the principal as the I going to do about it? What is the classroom teacher going to do about it, right? You have to remember that the greatest influence is in the classroom for academic achievement, but we also have to remove the barriers that we have, like challenges with discipline and attendance, because if we can get over some of those hurdles, then yes, we can help our teachers to have that environment for learning to take place. So rather than blaming, and I think we do it too quickly here, and as many schools, I think we just need to really have some of those hard conversations about what are some of the things that we can control, what we can't control, and what are we going to do to streamline, using that data to inform parents. I think you're going to frankly see some challenges, because oftentimes we teach to a test, and I don't mean that just at Pleasant Valley. I'm just saying in general, as an educator, as a former teacher, not everyone does it. But what I'm saying is that you're so honed in on your content and saying, hey, I'm a math teacher, and if this kid failed in ELA, it doesn't really matter. It's not my content area. That's not true. This is our kids. These are all of our kids. So I think we really need to kind of embrace that holistic approach, and then figure out with our expertise, like how are we in particular influencing each of these. So I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, as with any new endeavor, NWEA, it's going to have some challenges. I think informing the parents is going to be important to make sure they understand that, hey, I thought my kid was at this grade level getting honors, and now, I'm seeing some gaps. But again, we're trying to illuminate. We're saying, here are some things that we can focus on better, so that way we're increasing achievement. So that's kind of what our big takeaway was. And obviously next steps of making sure that the next building level leaders, the teachers, are having that opportunity to work with people in our district and in other districts to really, take it to the next level. So any other thoughts?
So that refresher you talked about, so now that everybody that went to this conference now is a subject matter expert. Are they doing the refresher trainings?
No, somebody from NWEA is doing the refresher training.
And that was built into our contract originally when we purchased this.
They're doing it for free.
Yep. I was able to have a conversation with them and said, we definitely really need this, so we were able to get it for them to do it, because they typically don't, but we put a precedent that we need to make sure that we're continuing that PD for our staff members.
So how are we going to continuously do that? How are we going to have somebody in-house to be that expert to make sure that we're educating our staff and not have to bring in a contractor every so often?
And that's something we actually discussed about having with those teams, that like a team leader, a team of teachers to actually become experts as well as with us, so that we are then all together going to be able to continue that, moving forward and having those conversations. For example, with the Algebra 1, having a conversation with Tim at the middle school, having that conversation with our department chair down there, as well as how are we going to use that Algebra 1 readiness, those cut scores, where do we need to make those adjustments? Because they're in the classroom, they're going to see those instructional strategies, and how can we make that actually work moving forward, and where do we need to make those adjustments? So that's kind of what we're looking at, down the line.
And just to answer that a little bit further, I think some of the teacher leaders too, right? So, it can't just be this is an admin thing or this is a reading specialist thing. Like, we have to be very mindful of how this impacts each of those teachers that's in the classroom, because then they can give us some more input on that. And I'll say this because I think it's really important. John and Bernie are obviously our administrators, and they have the ability to perform evaluations and walkthroughs and observations on staff. I strategically made the decision that they're not going to, because they need to be a layer of support. They need to be looked upon as somebody who is a resource to the teacher. And so I really want to remove that, stigma of, well, they're just coming in, they're an administrator, they can, influence my, evaluation. So again, trying to make some of those strategic approaches, because we do have excellent teachers that are going to take something like, the NWEA and say, hey, I'm very good at data analytics, or somebody else that says, hey, I'm very good at curriculum. And we talk about curriculum instruction and assessment, somebody who's great at instruction, and that team approach can then help influence what are we doing in the classes, because it's being driven also by our teachers that are seeing it firsthand, or seeing gaps in maybe a curricular resource that it is starting to be exposed for a particular grade level, that we need to hone in on this, or this primary resource doesn't cover some of the gaps that we're seeing our kids coming with. So having that teacher expertise, and really, we've talked about it a lot. We have a lot of great teacher experts. We also have to rely on them to make sure they have the time and opportunity to make sure that they're working with everyone to help out, if that helps.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Who won the bet? Okay.
They took over the podium, I took over the carpet.
No, just.
This is my first time speaking before the board, so, I might talk a little fast. I'm here to talk tonight about what we're building into our elementary and our PBI building. We're going to be starting to launch our formal jump into the MTSS. MTSS is a multi-tiered, I have the clicker. Which one do I push, Jason?
Top buttons.
Top buttons, all right. Okay, had to put the glasses on. So, multi-tier, MTSS stands for multi-tiered system of supports, which, if you look at the triangle, the bottom part of that triangle is the representation of the full student body for any academic area. So there's 4 core areas of MTSS, and we'll get into each of those core areas. All students will receive what is on tier 1. So that's like the general education instruction, the primary information that's provided to all students. Tier 2 is where we will be using a lot of that information that we'll be getting from the NWEA, and we're going to be using that information, that data, to help our students to differentiate which students need what supports. So that's where we need to know what they don't know. So you'll have, that's where the small group instruction comes into place. Tier 3 would be more intensive. That, a tier 3 group of students would not be more than 2 students at a time to 1 staff. So those are the kids who need the really intensive interventions. And I'm from the special ed department, so that doesn't mean that those kids in tier 3 are all special ed. This MTSS really doesn't have any indication of special ed, because you could be a student in special ed and receive all of your instruction in tier 1. It's a matter of where you're at academically, socially, and emotionally. Oh, what did I push? Wrong button, sorry. Okay, Jason, I just.
I got you.
There we go.
Just put it down, Roberta, I got you.
I will not break anything else's finger. So here's where we have the 3 levels. The map growth is really going to be valuable for us determining what students need and what they don't have, and that's where we're going to focus this. This is basically a national standard of the 25th percentile and above. Those students would go into tier 1. So that's where the kids who are pretty much on grade level, maybe have a couple of deficits here and there, they're going to receive the tier 1 instruction. The nice thing about MTSS is the ultimate goal is for a student to, if a student moves into tier 2, the ultimate goal is that is not where they stay. So 11th to the 24th percentile would be about where we're at with this tier 2. Goal is to provide the student with more intensive instruction to get them back to tier 1. Our ultimate goal is for all of our students to be in that lower tier, which is tier 1. Tier 3, you might go from tier 1 to tier 3, but then again, it's like a step. We have to get the students back to tier 2 and then back to tier 1. So this is where the supports are going to be intensified. We supplement data for the students' observations and classroom assessments. We take care of a lot of that stuff when our students are already in the special ed department. But this year, I've been working really closely with the PBE and PBI building admin and their SAP teams and their CST teams. Those 2 buildings have a lot of resources already in the building physically that we will not have, there won't be really any purchases needed for some of the tier 2 and tier 3 interventions because we already have a lot of that. We go to the next one. I don't want to keep messing it up, Jason.
You're
because
good.
You know how dangerous I am with this stuff. So again, this is just a breakdown. 80% of the students should be in tier 1, 15% tier 2, 5% tier 3. That's the recommended frequency, which is daily. Everyone receives the daily core. So you're all tier 1, all the kids get what's in tier 1, but then when you go into the next level, then you're either tier 2 or tier 3. So 3 to 5 times a week, we have a 6-day cycle so that if we have kids doing small group instruction, they would probably do like days 1, 3, and 5 or 2, 4, and 6. So that way we can use our resources we already have. We have reading specialists. Teachers can do the tier 2 group. The general ed teachers can do the tier 2 groups. Math specialists can do tier 2. And then when you get to the tier 3, that's more really concentrated on the reading specialists and the math specialists. If a child is already identified with special ed, that's where the special ed teacher then would be doing the intensive instruction. If that is their focus, if there's a specific learning disability, that would be where the special ed teacher would step in and focus that. So this is the K-5 framework. Basically, it was summarized because originally this presentation was 22 slides long and we knew we had to jump it down. So these are just 3 basic statements about the tiers for math and ELA, and they're very close in the same. We're going to be using the HMH. HMH has a lot of programs built into it that helps you to differentiate the instruction, so everybody will be receiving the same materials, the same content, but on a different level. So we might have some higher level readers, so they might receive the content at a higher reading level where our lower level readers would receive it then at their level. And this is where we're going to be individualizing, which will then drive the students to read more. Hopefully, the goal is to improve scores at the end of the day, but our focus is to make sure that our kids are learning to read, they're learning the essential math skills, and they're moving forward through when they get to those levels where they're taking the test. Hopefully, that's our goal, is to help work through that. Tier 3 for the math section, we do have some things in our toolbox, which would be iReady for math. We also have the Sunday system in both buildings, which is an alternate curriculum that focuses a lot on this sounds and language, mostly phonemics and phonemic awareness and information. Next one, Jason. The next goal here is the behavioral interventions. Now, this is kind of this is my strength, the behaviors. All of our buildings have an expectation of behaviors. There's an expectation of student behaviors across the board. When you go out into society, we have an expectation. That's where the tier 1 stuff would happen. These kids are learning I don't know how many of you end up at PBE in the first week of school. It's all hands on deck, like Dr. Conrad says all the time. And we are all there in the building helping kids get through things. The first week of school environment is rough. So the teachers in that building particularly teach the kids the basics of what they need to know. It's the whole group, the classroom, they take a tour of the building. So for the first day, they might go to the library. They'll go to the cafeteria as a group. They learn how to walk in the hall. That would be a tier 1 behavior intervention. A tier 2 intervention would probably be more of a pulling the child aside, talking with them. Maybe if the child really is struggling, then we would have some self-monitoring skills and we're addressing individually. Tier 3 is really when we're really getting into, oh my gosh, this child really needs a little bit more than us, the whole group instruction, the classroom rules, the expectations. They need some more focused information and support, which would come maybe from the guidance counselors, our school social worker. Again, I'm in PBE a lot, so I would intervene with some of those things. There's 2 links there. Those are the links to where we're going to push. We're going to kind of take the current CST process and blend it with the MTSS goals, objectives, because technically they really do it at PBE and I. They just call it CST and SAP. So we're going to put it all together into MTSS, which is kind of more of a modern version of those 2. Those 2 links, they take you to, the one link is for a step-by-step guide. One of the problem things that we found is teachers were reacting to a student's behaviors and they were being referred for special ed. But not every child who has a behavior in the classroom needs an IEP. So we have developed a step-by-step process on where the teachers will go through to identify that. And that's something we're going to be rolling out a little bit slower because it is new, but we are rolling that out within the first month of school to the PBE and then PBI. The second one is a drive of, it's just a whole bunch of resources that we found for when a child is not having a good day or they're disrupting the classroom. I found them on a couple of different sites and I didn't want to have to reinvent the wheel, but and these ones are really good sources. They're informational, that what it does is it tells you if a student is doing these things or you're seeing these behaviors, this is the things that you should avoid saying or doing. This is maybe try that, and then the next column is try this. And then there's an explanation as to why. And being that I'm the behavior, I'm really focused a lot with the behaviors because that's where my background has been for prior to coming to PBE. The behaviors, there's a reason behind some of that. We may not see that reason, but we might, and some of the reasons are hidden, but when I look through those resources, they really are very good at narrowing down what you might be looking at. Our kids come to school with all kinds of baggage, and we have to make sure that we're helping them to unpack that and help to making them feel safe. So it's an environment where they can learn. Next one. And this is the other section of MTSS, which is the social emotional learning. And this is going to be integrating mostly the second step curriculum that we currently already have. So again, we're just kind of morphing these things into a different format. These resources are all pretty much there already. So we're just tweaking it all. Every student in the elementary and the intermediate building do have an SEL class. I think it's once every 6 days.
Yeah, they said last night.
Yeah.
They go to the cell labs, the kids learn different play skills, different interaction skills, different problem solving skills, managing their emotions. We all have emotions and sometimes they get the better of us and we have to figure out what we can do. Some of those things for kids who are struggling a little bit might include like a behavior chart. One of the things that we rolled out last year with a lot of the specialized students that had behavioral charts was changing the language of that. So instead of saying, Johnny will not, or I will not, it was a language change to, I sat in my desk today, I raised my hand in this class. It's an I statement, but it's a positive twist on it. So, I stayed in my area, I didn't run down the hall. So those are the things that we're trying to help the kids to understand, that we're making it a positive approach. So it's more of a trauma-informed approach. Tier 2, maybe some extra counseling from the guidance counselors. Both of the buildings have social emotional learning groups. They're 6 weeks long. And then if the child was really struggling, we would be at the point where we would be moving to maybe a YES referral, or for our social worker to meet with the child one-to-one, or maybe 2 students to 1. We're also bringing the parents in on this process. The parents will be involved in this. If we're talking about your students, we want to provide your child with a small group or a check-in, check-out. We use the term for a lot of our kids in the special ed department. We're going to kind of push it into the MTS process with the whole school-wide, is a safe adult. Someone that child feels comfortable with. Because if the child doesn't like me, they're not going to talk to me. But if they love Dr. Conrad, they're going to tell him the world. So, and then at the younger ages, and that's where we're getting the kids to learn, this is a safe place, a safe person to talk to. So if I am struggling, I can go to that person. And that's it. Any questions?
I just, when you're talking about your behavioral intervention.
Yes.
Like this was brought up last night, if you remember that. One of the parent members asked about our teachers being taught this. Like you said, if the student starts acting this way, is there a professional development you're giving to our teachers that they say, hey, here's certain situations, your kid might do this, here's a way you might say or what you might do to de-escalate that possible thing? Is that something?
We have talked about professional development, but.
I'm pretty sure over the past few years, we've done some personal development about de-escalation, but I think, if we're doing some really embedded trainings, what we don't have, something that we're working on, and Mr. Van Voorhis is doing this, is, having that repository. So we talk about like a staff resource, maybe having the ability to actually see, hey, here are some strategies that you can implement, even though you might have, we did this training last year. We are obviously, and we get feedback from our staff. So, when we're talking about at the different buildings, what are you seeing that are the concerns, whether it's, whether it's school safety or, maybe it's trauma that's happening at home. I know that some of our teachers, as we talked about last night, the counselors are like kind of more, I guess, experienced and also have that training. But I think there are, tricks, techniques, and strategies that can be also used across in each of the classrooms. So again, I think what we'll do is we'll always take a look at our PV's PD, but as reoccurring themes, like we know that this has been happening for the past couple of years, especially in the elementary school, like, behaviors for students that haven't had any preschool experience, making sure that those kindergarten teachers in particular are getting a little bit more embedded training to say, hey, here's some like applicable strategies, not just pie in the sky, like theory. This is what you can do in the moment. So we're definitely building that library.
Like in the elementary, you used to have a lot of teachers who had kids of their own, so they kind of like do that. But now you're getting to the point where you're getting a lot of younger kids who don't have, and it's like, their first reaction is like, I want to treat them like this or that, and that's what I was just wondering if we have that
And
type of behavior.
when things like that come up, a lot of times Roger or Sarah will have a conversation about that. And sometimes we'll talk with the teacher directly, the three of us, and we collaborate on what's going on with the kids. Because before we get to that point where we need an IEP, we really need to we need some data. We need some understanding, just because a child, and I kid you not, I had a child last school year that he was literally lying on the chair, upside down, with his head between the seat and the back, his legs up on the chair, and the teacher asked him a question, he picked his head up, answered it correctly, he was right on target. That is just how that particular, now, and it's not appropriate, but that's how he was regulating himself. And he is a child, he was one of my students with special needs, and he has an autism diagnosis. This is how that particular child regulated himself when he was stressed out. He just hung his head over the back of his chair like that. It
And the
was
teacher needs to understand that that's okay.
100%, right,
And
absolutely,
we
yeah.
stressed that.
right.
After I saw that and he answered that question, I said,
Yeah.
no. His behavior plan is working and we're not changing.
And to that point, I mean, we just want to make sure that our teachers also understand maybe some of the challenges. So whether that's from, our special ed team or maybe a counselor, because again, each classroom is going to have some unique dynamics and some kind of maybe off-putting behaviors or academic challenges. So I think trying to get those resources in, but, I think there's a lot of good collaboration, especially at, PVE, PVI, because we're talking about such little, students, if you will, and then staff members that, are saying, hey, let's kind of get these students off on the right foot. And then obviously as they matriculate up, we're seeing a lot of those behaviors dissipate because they know, as we kind of say, they know how to go to school, right? They know how to behave because even if they haven't had that experience, and there's also like that window of challenge between like September and October. I mean, every single December we see the challenges with some of the kindergartners, even though they're much more extreme than they've been for the last 10 years, they do start to kind of, dissipate after a couple of months of kind of consistency and rules and communication and that's good to see.
Put some of the kids into a graph and you
Yeah.
can clearly see it. It's like a big bell.
Yep.
November, December, January, May, February, and then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it is about the teachers knowing, is that the hill you're gonna die on that day? If you're gonna die on that kid having to sit in that chair properly, you're gonna be fighting that battle for the rest of the week, the rest of the year. But that particular teacher that he had, she was okay with him sitting like that. She just didn't realize that he was actually paying attention. So, that's just, we have to be flexible because they're kids. And some of them are 5. And they have never left mom's side for more than a couple of hours before. Here we stick them in a building away from mom in 8 hours, 7 hours. And it really is all hands on deck at PVE for the first week of school. And some kids take a little longer, and that's why we want to have this MTSS process so we can get the services in place. Especially processes take 60 days, and a lot of times the kids don't qualify at the end, and because we didn't put other stuff in place initially.
Thank you.
Right? Any other questions?
Anyone else? Thank you, Roberta.
Thanks.
Middle school furniture.
All right. I think I should be able to work with this. Before I show any of the pictures here, and probably many of you have already been into the middle school, take a look at that. I just wanted to kind of shout out and give a thanks to the custodial staff and maintenance staff. They've been tremendous with moving the furniture, getting the floors done, just making sure everything was ready to go because it was huge coordination to make sure that we got the furniture there and then disseminate it out to all the rooms and make sure it's all good to go. Also, the admin and secretarial staff there were a huge part in that as well, making sure that we had that. And then Dr. Howard and Vicki O'Rourke for just a big team effort there, putting that together. And then Premier, that company, Ryan, Gwen, and Chris, they were on the phone, emails, making sure that we had everything ready to go. And then also you guys, the board, for approving it, because I think it really shows for our community, and I think the kids are going to really love, and the teachers as well, what it looks like, and that kind of that safety net feeling there.
And I'll just sorry to say this, but I'll just add to it too. I mean, I know Dr. Howard really had this vision of like, when the staff comes back, the rooms are going to be ready. And obviously that backward planning of months, and talking to the board, getting your approval and having this new furniture and having that vision. I mean, we've had such great feedback from our teachers saying, wow, I can't believe, this furniture is in my classroom. So thank you to the board and our community, but also, for Dr. Howard's vision, obviously for John and Bernie, for Vicky, for the custodial staff, for Tammy to, look at our finances and make sure that, we're still good, whether it's capital improvements or other funding streams. But again, this year's going to be exciting because I think it's very refreshing for some of our students to step into that role. So, and there's a lot of pictures, so it'll be kind of fun to go through.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about all of them, but there are, this was before a lot, staff were coming in, so they said everything pretty much. There were a couple that were rearranged by staff for what they want, but most of them were just kind of standing there. The other piece there is also the sign. So we got new signs and labeling for all the rooms because they got all rearranged and organized to make a little bit more sense when you walk down the halls. So that was one of the signs that is outside the door. But there will be right now, actually all the classrooms have teacher names in them. They slide in there, but some science classrooms there and just regular ed classroom, and one of the teachers there are actually starting to rearrange in pairs there. They were rearranging those. And some science and some standard rooms here, along with also some special ed. And you'll see there a small group table there as well for the regrouping and working with students individually. So it really does give a fresh look across the board, which is awesome. And you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but the hallway there, you can see the flags that are up there with the room number. So it's a lot more visible now when you are walking down halls for kids to know where the room is, but also our response team, so they can see where that classroom is if there is an immediate issue. And then also the esports lab there. So just wanted to give you a little update on that.
And the signs are really sharp.
Yeah.
I was in there, and it was like, wow, you really know where you're going now.
Yep.
It's not painted all
I
in
used to
green.
teach you, like, now it's like, wow.
We have a couple others we're still working on finalizing, like a wayfinding, like a big one for the main entrance there. We're still in the works on that. We just have to try to organize what do we want to make sure that we're wayfinding to. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna attest, I was in the building last night for the sports parents meeting, and it looks really nice. I mean, the decks, I came back and told my youngest that you're gonna enjoy what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So,
Those chairs are comfortable for the
Yeah,
students.
they are.
Really
They are.
comfortable.
They really are.
Yeah, so.
Mhm. Thank you. Who's next?
That's me, but just a couple quick points. So we do have a pillar
Quick.
program. I know quick. Listen, I was good. Yeah.
We're 2.5
Let's see what we're
hours
under,
in.
right? All right, 1 minute. So we have a pillar program. It's primarily located at Polk through BHA. We do support the students in the PV community. We do have some students in that program from Pocono Mountain. So there's about 25 spaces. Autism is the primary diagnosis that's typically serving kids at grades K through 3. We have a great connection with BHA, and actually they have a great connection then with ESU. They do some field experience for teacher training and so forth. They have space obviously at Polk, but we're also going to open up one of the classroom spaces at PVE. Done. Look at that.
Wow.
Who didn't,
Wow. Any questions?
Any questions?
Is there any room for expansion at Polk?
There is. At Polk, yes, we're working on that. That was not part of the most recent lease, but I know
Back of our
myself.
minds.
Yep,
That's
exactly.
good.
Yep. So Mrs. Mel has done a great job with trying to occupy all the available space. They want to move into space. We're not ready because we have to do a couple of things here and there, but we're going to get there. And that's our next focus. I'm sure it'll happen this year.
Okay. Any questions from the public on the education curriculum piece? Okay. I'm assuming there's nothing under transportation, nothing there?
No,
Okay. Before you go real quick, so what is this bill? No, what is, what is this bill that's attached? Nobody spoke
That
to
is
it.
for the math fluency with coach and also with the September 12th data, like training.
So is this something we need to put on to be approved? What?
Yes, for, approval, if you guys approve in August 28th.
Okay, so you need, for me, at least, I need to
So we need some-
understand what it is. I don't
Yeah,
know what it is.
We need some direction,
We
yes.
didn't know that the bill was on there. We thought that was
Our presentation.
No, well, the bill's on here, so that's why I asked what it was.
Yeah, so that is for the training of the elementary with the math fluency with coach, and then also the September 12th, looking at the data and having them come out and actually present for our staff and how to analyze that data moving forward.
So why wasn't that a part of the original bill? Like, shouldn't that have been a part of their package of what they're selling to us?
So, because we use grant funding, we try to kind of like offer kind of like the best price at that time. And then, when we were looking, because we also were spending that grant funds on other things. And then, it actually worked out because I was able to, work with them to get that, PD on our first day kind of free with that. So it kind of like worked out, but, that's just kind of like how it laid out. We wanted to make sure that we still had grant funds and other avenues for renewals for our teachers and stuff like that, for software and stuff like that.
So how many of these are we gonna see then throughout the years?
There should be definitely one more for the February
February.
one, which was also not included in the original. So,
Is this being paid with grant money?
yes.
Yes.
So we didn't see this coming.
Well, we had an opportunity to get really in-depth support for something that we're doing new. I mean, certainly we could forego the bill and you know.
No, it's not to forego, it's just if.
Right.
To be prepared for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just like, okay, again, we
Yeah.
go now, something like this, well, it should have been one package deal, so we know
That's
that's
my
going to come down.
I think-
It's like add-on after add-on after add-on.
Right. You bring up a good point. I think, you know, so take, for example, when we're doing our science curriculum this year, I think what we'll then incorporate, because that's good feedback, is to say, okay, so here's what the bill is. Here's what we anticipate. If we were to do some embedded, you know, PD from them, this is how much it could cost as an add-on. But I think exactly to your point, so it doesn't feel like it's just add. It's like, here's what the whole package is. We're focusing on part A right here, but know that, you know, we may have to cross the bridge where part B is going to cost 10,000 and 10,000 or whatever.
Then we should negotiate that up
Yeah.
front to get that into our
As an overall
price.
package. Yeah.
Yeah, not this, you know, when you go to the car dealer,
Sure.
sit down the finance person and they, no,
Right.
you want the outdoor price of what it's gonna cost to
Yeah.
fund our district for these new programs. I
Yeah.
think that's what we need to.
Because again, if we didn't have the grant money, what the heck would we be doing? We'd be digging into the.
Right.
Yeah.
And is that something like, if you did it as a bigger package, you
Yeah.
could potentially get a
Better deal. Yeah.
Right, so as we're piecemealing, it's like this, if we said, hey, we're gonna commit to doing all these things.
Right.
So because of that, I mean, I know it's grant money, but still, we
Sure.
wanna be.
Conscientious.
It just,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
like from a perception perspective,
Yeah. The
it seems
transparency.
like we didn't know
Yeah.
that we needed this when we could have just said, this is the plan.
Yeah.
Right? Like I would like this money here, and then we're gonna need more money in this month and more money in approximately this time, so that at least we're aware that we
Right.
considered that
No,
as
that's
part of the,
again, we talk about
Yeah.
growth, good feedback, and definitely something that we'll talk about, you know, as we're doing some of those future plans, knowing that like there may be either additional costs, reoccurring costs, startup costs, if you will. So and this to me is kind of a startup cost. And again, I don't foresee us, you know, doing this year over year over year. But at the same time, I think you're right. Like in terms of a bigger bundle, you know, with maybe a bigger percentage of savings, we can say, hey, this is what we're asking you for approval, but know that in a few months, we might need to come back for that 10 to 12. That totally is reasonable. You bring up a really good point. So we'll work on that as a team, definitely. Yeah, that's a good thing. That's the right thing to do.
Are we okay for it to go on the agenda?
Make it successful, we
Yeah.
kind of have to.
Okay, very good. Okay, now you can sneak out. All right, technology.
Good evening, board. I appreciate, I have 3 presentations for you.
are they all
No,
20
no,
pages
no.
long?
I told Jason he can't do
No,
presentations.
I
I'm sorry. I had to take the opportunity to wake everyone up.
There was a lot to unpack under Ed, so thanks. We appreciate the comic relief.
Actually, underneath A, we have E-Hall Pass. Just a really quick update on this. I actually believe it was, Mr. G who mentioned earlier about E-Hall Pass and the usage of last year. So to touch upon this, technology department, the police department, security, as well as the building principals have been working very diligently this summer to make sure that this rollout is actually much more widely implemented this upcoming year. Middle school and high school, the principals are both actively working with their own administrative team to ensure that this is going to be a priority and that we are indeed moving to this electronic format. We're actually repurposing quite a hefty amount of iPads that we have, so it's not costing the taxpayers anything. These are resources the district already owns. We're going to be repurposing them and actually giving them to security officers to use for this program and this purpose, so they can actually have an easier way of actually checking students in the hallway and such, as well as using those iPads for other possible uses as well. And we're also looking at repurposing, again, some already owned iPads to set up kiosks in key positions in the school to actually better track the students as well. So again, really trying to make sure we're integrating security, technology, and also the schools with this. Any questions about E-Hall Pass?
So is this gonna be up and running when school starts?
The vast majority of it will be up and running when school starts, yes. There may be a couple.
Majority mean one school, both schools?
Both schools, middle school and high school. This is a priority for day one.
And what's gonna be missing that most of it is what?
There may be a couple locations where iPad kiosks aren't set up yet due to electrical, especially in the high school with the construction project. There's gonna be some areas where the grand vision of these locations having these devices, it may not come to fruition. The classrooms are still going to be utilizing E-Hall Pass. It just may have to come from their own device instead of like a kiosk.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing.
There will be spot checking on that. I just want you to be aware of that.
No, that's absolutely fine. I appreciate it.
On whether or not kids are carrying around pieces of like 2x4 in the hallway.
I'm checking myself, actually.
I was gonna say, I plan on being in the high school next
Yeah.
year quite
Okay, just
frequently,
checking.
so I will
I
also be
know,
looking for those
right,
2x4s, trust me.
Sheetrock.
I know what I'm
Alright,
looking for.
ceiling tiles. Is there any questions about E-Hall Pass?
Okay.
Awesome. Second item I have is a boardroom audio and video update. This one's very short. Dr. Conrad mentioned it actually during the last meeting. Really, we are on pace. Last I checked with the company, the products are coming in, and we are waiting to install them at a convenient time mid-September to hopefully not disrupt any kind of board meetings, but hopefully get that hardware installed so we can increase our streaming, audio, and visual. Any questions about the boardroom audio and visual?
No.
Excellent, thank you. And the last one I have, it's not on the agenda, sorry, is to just briefly touch upon master library. So again, technology department, maintenance department, and athletic department in this case have been working to get the master library software up and running. This is replacing School Dude. I'm happy to announce that for our public, the link for them to reserve facilities is now live. It's in the same exact location that it was in previously. All we did was remove the School Dude link and we connected the master library link. So they're able to actually go through and start implementing these requests. They will have to set up an account the first time. I tested it myself earlier. It worked fine. I set up an account and immediately, someone approved it and said, yep, you are who you said you are. And now I can start making requests. So that should be open and available to our public community. So is there any questions about that or the rest of the technology?
Public technology question?
Can I just note too that it will pick up schedule start, so if I make a change on a game because it's canceled for the weather, it reads it, I believe it was hourly, it would draw that data from schedule start and update the system. The only thing I have to do, because it was just today, correct, that they schedule start and Master Library made their connection, so I need to individually go in over the next couple of days and mirror what schedule start and what it reflects in our system for the facility. So we'll get that done and we should start to see that schedule start being pulled over tomorrow.
Yeah, the
athletic side.
The only piece that's missing right now is making sure that we can say schedule start football field is equal to football field in master library, and then it'll make that connection. But unfortunately, we have to do it for every single
area in the district. So that's gonna take a little bit of time.
It is, I
It's a
mean,
little
we
bit
just had start up and all, so we're gonna try and fit it in, at least hit the fall sports now, so that brings it over.
Yep. So.
Wonderful. Policy, nothing? No, okay.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report?
I don't think there was anything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was just the,
The
yes.
revised.
Yep, so we talked about this for the past few board meetings. What you'll see attached is just the dates. We talked about moving to a working session, a true working session, starting in September. So the September, goodness, what is it? September 11th board meeting would be just a voting meeting. I'm sorry, a working, thank you. Wait,
I know.
Would just be working sessions. They start at 6:00 with no executive session before that. And then the voting meeting would be the second meeting. It would just be for strictly voting on those agenda items. And that would start at 7:00 with an executive session prior to that. And again, look forward to, having a new opportunity, new forum to have some really good discussions. I apologize. I know tonight was a really long discussion, a lot of educational focus, but we really want to make sure that the board was informed and the community was informed of some of these great things that we're implementing this year. I can promise you in future meetings, we're not going to have as many presentations and things listed, but we just wanted to kick it off and make you just aware of this information. But I think that'll be really helpful to streamline discussions and topics. And, do we have the will of the board to put things on the agenda, and then voting on the agenda, which I think will help the length of our meetings as well and the efficiency. So any questions about any of that? Okay, cool.
Any questions from the public on that? Okay. Security. Anything, Mr. Bronson, for security? Okay. Jim, I promise next time you go first.
The next one, it's a Thursday night pickup.
Well, I meant the next working session. I'm gonna let you go first, both of you.
Yeah.
Do you have-
We pushed out last week to all grades 6 through 12, the all-season pass. One, it gives us an opportunity to track, what students are coming to our ticketed games and all. And two, it gives us a safety feature. Something happens in an event, we know who's coming in the gates now for those grades 6 to 12. And, we hope to take it further because they were just showing IDs before. And, you look at the ID, but you have no tracking of who's entering that stadium when you just show the ID. So that went out. We had a couple people that did have some issues, like didn't understand it. They reached out to our office. We printed them out. We had some homeschoolers reach out to us. And, they had some issues and we pushed the pass out to them as well. It was very successful. I know some people have already put it on their devices and all too, and we have hard copies. So I'm excited to try this year. I plan to put out a Connect Ed this upcoming week coming up. Still bring your ID. We got to give some flexibility here so everyone gets it. Still bring your ID and all, and bring your pass. If you don't have your pass, bring your ID. But it's a teachable moment for us. And I think we'll get some good data to see, what kids are coming to our games and all. So, and there was no charge from Hometown. I just sent them the email how I wanted it. They said the directions how to get it, and it shipped it right out to all the students.
Any questions? Okay, all that.
Just to give you a heads up, a lot of districts are looking at upping their ticket rates. Our league, EPC, for championship games and all have raised this year, ticket prices by $1. So we're seeing the impact, the cost, and, official rates are going up. Those costs are going up yearly. And I've been here 3 years now, and we still haven't raised the ticket price, but every year that official's fee goes up so many dollars a year. For next year, we ought to think about possibly raising it $1 or, whatever's feasible to kind of meet the needs of what we're paying our officials. And I think most of that ticket fee goes to those official fees, if I'm correct. Mrs. Snell. the ticket fees help pay for the officials. Am I correct with that? Yeah.
Yes,
When was the last time we bumped it? Does anybody know?
it was before, I'm here 6 years and it hasn't. been.
Okay. All right.
4 million. So I just wanted to bring that up this evening to think about it, since we did it at the league this week at our league meeting with our principals. So just something to think about as we move forward.
What about bonuses if people buy?
I do give a discount, like if they buy there's a
season.
4-pack lot, there's a season pass.
Right.
So for football, if you buy a season pass, which is 5 games home, that'd be $25. Currently, they only pay 20. So we do give them a discount when they buy multiple games. Same with the year, like a whole year pass or just a basketball pass. There are added discounts in there to encourage them to buy the pass instead of the individual price.
Now, do you send this out, like this on the webpage, something you send out, say, hey?
It's on our athletics
tickets are going up,
webpage.
here's the best way to
It's on our
save.
athletics. And usually, last year I did it right before the first football game. I sent something out earlier in the year that we have our tickets up. So I do promote it, yes.
Well, I was just saying, like, so you said before your first football game, well, somebody might have to save up to be ready to buy a season one if they want to do a season, maybe if their kid plays in 3 sports or 2 sports or something like that. And you let them know earlier in August, they can say, okay, well, I'll save up now here, I can buy this, it's gonna save me over the period of time. That's,
I did push something out at the beginning of August when I
Okay.
had the store set up. I had to input all the dates for the tickets and all that.
Right.
And one of the things what's holding me up this year was the wrestling. The league put it out a home and away. I have to fix that because we don't have a girls wrestling coaching staff. So we have to do ours together. So I'm still working on that, but fixing all those dates and all. Wrestling's not done, but everything else is, and up and on there. So again, it is, we did push it out on our social media with Instagram when we launched it as well too. So we are trying to get it out there.
but the ticket raise is gonna happen when?
I'm asking, and it would be for next year. I already put the current prices down. This will be for next year. Yes, this will be for next year.
Anyone else? Anything else, Jim?
Yeah, just the last thing, some numbers from, for this year. We had 421 signups this year. We're down, from last year at about 485. So it's about 60 less, people. Some of the crucial areas, girls tennis, we're down about 10 girls there, for girls tennis. Our biggest one was, cross country. We had 28. Last year, this year, we're about half of that right now, about 14. But I give it the first biggest school. Sometimes we do get for those sports, or cuts just happened yesterday. They'll reach out and maybe move to another sport. Or bring a friend. Our biggest concern, and that's not even in our district here, it's the league, is girls field hockey. Our numbers are dwindling. It's a struggling sport. I just received an email today that Freedom High School won't have a JV field hockey team this year. So it is a big struggle. And at our last meeting, there's even one of our sister schools up here in the Monroe County may not have a varsity team. So it's a struggling sport. So that's something that I need to work with PBYA. I know they had a good turnout last year with their youth program, but we won't see that yet for another few years. So we still need to keep developing, reaching out. At the middle school, we usually, don't give up until at least that first biggest school once the kids are in school. I know Miss McKeever, she stands out front next week during the new student orientation with the sticks and all, just to get the girls interested and to get them to sign up. So
So do they have the
again,
numbers?
I'm sorry,
What numbers do they have for the?
they're only at about 6 right now.
That's high school or middle school?
Middle school.
Okay.
Middle school.
High school, they.
High school is at 17 currently, right now. We probably won't fill
The
it.
theaters, the one goes down too.
Yep.
So what do you do with that coach then? What's gonna happen with that? Because I noticed you hired all those and.
And we did, in the past, we used them to help work with those students who can't, make the varsity field. They still work with them. That's what we've done in the past. I mean, we still have to develop our players. You know, varsity is working with varsity. We do keep people on. I mean, that role of 17, some of those are JV players. You know, they're going to get varsity time because of the numbers, but if we don't develop them, what are we going to do with them? I mean, they're not going to get that time like they would. It's something that, yes, happened before, and we did keep them on. I know prior to me coming on, I know the board previously had gotten rid of some coaches and all with JV programs. And it kind of hurts the program because those JV players don't get the attention that the varsity players would be getting. It's a lose-lose situation is what it is. I don't know how else to explain it. It's a lose-lose. I mean, yes, there's not enough JV players to warrant a JV team, but what do you do with those players? Now that you say that we don't have enough to run a team, do we have that coach there? If we get rid of them, then what happens to those 5 or 6 players that we have? So it is a little bit, I'm gonna be honest.
There's no feeder to go on. So.
I understand it, but it's like, I mean, you also have to look at the fiscal responsibility. It's like, we're gonna spend $3,000 for somebody to watch
And I
after
understand
3
it,
or 4 kids. That's $1,000 a kid.
Well, I
That's-
think we have to wait and see once school gets started, and see what the numbers are next time. So hopefully they'll go up. Maybe they can get some more.
And Jim, you've typically seen that, right? So when school starts, you know, we get a little
We
bit
do get a
more,
little bit more.
couple more kids. Okay.
They do try and recruit, I will say
Yeah.
that, yes. Like I said, volleyball did their cuts yesterday, so those students are.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering then too, then from a communication standpoint, like, you know, or is there a possibility that the coach for cross country can get a list of those kids that were trying out for volleyball that didn't make
They
it?
do
Just to
Volleyball
kind of,
kids out. When
Okay.
the girls are told
Right.
that, you know, they need a little more improvement, they're handed a flyer for field hockey.
okay, for other, that's good.
Yeah,
That's a
they're
really
out,
good thing,
yeah.
yes, just to give them another
I mean, it's not like
opportunity,
you're
right?
trying to push them away, but
Yeah,
you're out.
yeah. No, that's good. I'm glad that we're doing that, so that's good. Nice.
Anything on athletics,
I
Denise?
actually have a question for
sorry.
you real quick. How, are you having any issues right now with facility usage with the season around the corner with people requesting access to do training, not just with athletics, but with clubs? I'm hearing some stuff from the community that they're not getting answers on like the space that they need to start prepping for the year and stuff. Are you having any issues with that at all?
The only thing I got copied on this summer was some grass cutting for fields. But I got nothing.
Okay, so all like sports and clubs have somewhere to practice to get ready for the season?
Yeah, I mean, this field was packed here tonight.
Indoor,
and
like-
PBE
Okay.
and all. Our biggest concern probably will be once winter comes,
Winter
you know,
comes.
we're down in the
Correct.
gym.
Correct, which is
We're
why
down in
we,
the gym.
which is why we recommended that we start having these monthly meetings at some point.
Oh, yeah, Randy and I
Quarterly.
talked, we're probably gonna have one in October.
Right, quarterly.
How frequently do you want them?
I'm sorry.
He was trying to go for a month. I was like, quarterly.
No, quarterly.
Trying to give myself more work, my wife will come in.
You haven't been
we
in the
talked-
work meetings yet.
Mr. Snell and I had talked actually 2 days ago about that. Now that the system's up, you know, we had made the deal and all that. We looked at maybe October at some point, you know, get the school year in, get all of our fields going and all. And having that community meeting again like we did last time.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Last call for anything.
No, but we are gonna get this sign hung up in here, so.
Okay.
We can go around the bear neck, I mean. right?
So take a put them on every bear that we have.
On purpose?
What's that?
Did you skip that on purpose?
Did I skip what? No, I did that.
No, we did that. We did this one. We just talked about the voting.
The dates?
Yeah, the dates.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Okay, I was in the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
I missed it.
No, you didn't miss it.
Sure, we're good?
We're good. Okay. Thank you all.
We'll start at
Sleep
6,
fast.
no exec before, and then the voting will start at 7. with the exec
That's
before.
all.
So that's all.
Oh,
And just put the dates.
thank
on.
goodness gracious.
Yeah, oh, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Being outside now.
Like your Cadillac.
Thanks.
Color.
Yeah,
I was like,
everybody
that
likes
is a
the color.
cool color. I
Yeah,
really
Dale
like
puts
this.
the color out.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
do it.
now
He likes green.
Yeah.
Oh, is that your